I'm a black man trying not to get caught. I'm just trying to solve the puzzle like a jigsaw. You know it's a big world, so easy to get lost. I'm just trying to solve the puzzle like a jigsaw.
Welcome back, y'all, to another week, another episode of Craziness. This is the Jigsaw Podcast.
Yeah.
I am Josh Rogers.
I am Brian Hare.
And we are back here for another time in the living room. And this is the place where we talk about it, the perils, the praises, productivity, and the pomp and circumstance of being a black person in America.
Yes, sir.
Brian, how are you, brother?
I am actually pretty good.
All right.
As always, it's a great day to be black.
Yes, it is.
We are still here in the land of the living.
He shined his light on our melanin.
Hallelujah, Jesus.
Hallelujah to the Father.
God. So how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I cannot complain. I could complain. I've had some good days
and some hills to climb.
I've had some weary days
and some sleepless nights.
But when I look around
and think things over,
all of my good days
outweigh all of my bad days,
and I won't complain.
complain.
Sometimes my clouds hang low.
Don't take us up in here. Don't take us up in here. Don't take us up to the heavens.
But no, man, for real, I'm good. I'm really good. It is a good week. I just celebrated a birthday last week. Felt really loved. So thank y'all for all the shout outs and the love and everything that came with 31. I am 31.
You're in your 30s.
I am in my 30s. I'm
In
not
your
just
30s.
30. I'm in them joints now.
Have you found any gray hairs anywhere?
not in one place.
But they'd have been gone anyway. You would have waxed them, man of God.
You know, I believe in a manscape, but no, there are no hairs, no gray ones.
Oh God. So what did you end up doing for your birthday though?
Pretty much just chilled out.
Okay.
My kids wanted to take me bowling, so I put on my my latex gloves. I put on my mask. Me and Asher brought us a travel size sanitary kit.
Okay.
We went to the main event and we bowled one game of bowling because I really don't like bowling. But that was it, man. And then just kind of chilled out. Wifey got me some Jordan 1s, my favorite J's.
Wonderful.
I got some Air Max that I've been having my eyes on, and just relax. I was not. The best part of my birthday was not playing principal in virtual learning that day. I told Asher, "You got it. You got it today. Just give me peace."
Yes, peace like a river.
Yeah, and that's what I got. So it was good, man.
I'm glad to hear that. You deserve it. You're a good black man.
I deserve.
You deserve it. You deserve it. Yeah. So.
Yep.
Update.
Okay.
I read all of the Tangeray story.
Okay.
And it was a good It was a good thing. It was a good read.
All 33 of 32.
33, because they gave us the spoiler alert. They gave us the update regarding her and her child.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was good. So her story is so just emphatically contagious. You just can't stop reading it. I think we talked about it last week when we said some of it seemed unbelievable, and I think I read somewhere where the guy who owns the page, Brandon, sometimes even questioned, like, "All right, Tangeray," but then she would pull out a picture or like an article or something to prove everything that she's saying.
She had receipts.
I think her story was so dope, and I listened to another podcast where Rants and Randomness with Lovey Ajayi.
Okay.
She actually interviewed Brandon, who's the owner of Humans of New York. He just talked about how they met and things like that, and how she actually turned down like movie offers and all type of stuff to do this because she met him first. And after she went viral earlier this year or late last year, whenever it was, she didn't really know what was happening. All she knew was that she liked what happened
Right.
from his blog.
Right.
So she went back with him to do it, and he was even saying that the movie producers and stuff are now coming back. So there could be a chance if we get a Tangeray Netflix movie,
I need it.
or
I
think it'll be dope because what she told us was probably just scratching the surface of everything that she's lived. So I'm glad you were able to read it, man. It was good. It was so good.
It was great. I text you, I said, movie me, please. Like, I need to see this. Like, because the thing, as I was reading it, I was, creating my own movie in my head as far as all the shenanigans and the wild stuff. Because it was so, even though it was short, it was like vivid. She was kind of painting the portrait. And then also, like you said, she provided the pictures to kind of support what she was saying. So then I was like, oh snap. So then you see, again, spoiler alert, see what Carmine looks like.
Yeah.
And see some of her running buddies and stuff like that. And even the story she did about James Brown, that was hilarious.
let me tell you something. Two things that will never be the same for me, and that is a hot dog and
not
chocolate milk.
Not at all.
I was like, I don't even eat hot dogs anyway, but I was like, mighty God. Y'all just got to go read it. Go to @Humans of NY. Humans of New York, and there's a 32. You'd probably think in your mind, 32 posts. I ain't reading that. I promise you.
It's worth it.
Once you get through the first one, you're going to be like, wait. And you don't have to wait for the notifications like we did. You have the pleasure of just reading and reading and reading. And shout out to anyone who may have listened, may have clicked the link and donated. I know we put it in the description notes last week. She's a millionaire.
Multi-millionaire.
She's up to 2.6 mil right now. And it's all going to her trust to take care of medical expenses and all these different types of things. So it's going to a great cause. But shout out to Lady Tangeray.
Yes.
Super excited about your story. Grateful that you were able to share your story. And I think if so many more of our elders would just give us that beauty.
Yes, they have the stories. Like,
they
give them
have
to
the
us.
stories. They have the stories. Like, my grandmother was born in 1926. I'm sure she got some stories of just what life was like in the 30s and 40s and whatever. So definitely appreciate that. You ready to go and shout out some Black excellence? Ready to get into the show?
Let's do let's do that. Let's go. Can we do the song of the week first?
Oh yeah. My bad. My fault.
So
song of the week.
I picked a good one.
Okay.
You ready for it?
I'm ready.
All righty. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex.
Don't talk about it.
Let's talk about it. That's the song of the week is "Let's Talk About Sex" by Salt-N-Pepa, which is a great song.
I'm so glad you said that because I was just about to say TLC.
It all blends together. 90s, it all blends together. But that's like they're the original WAP sisters.
With a DJ in the back. DJ to they WAP.
Yeah, but that's the song of the week. Go out and listen to it. Go out and support it. We salute and support our Black sisters.
Yeah, go put them strings back up.
Do it.
Strings back up.
Get your bangs.
The bang.
And your French roll. They used to wear the French roll.
Yeah, with the diamonds and they're going down the middle.
Go ahead and do it. But yeah, let's go into the bless up. How about that?
Let's do it.
All right, we are here at the Bless Up where we shout out and support our Black businesses. So actually last week we talked about Black men hair goals. And we actually talked about, me and Josh talked about as far as the products that we use. And yeah, I don't know, you may already know this, but Josh and I, we believe in supporting Black business. So we use Black hair products and stuff like that we can't use, but we definitely want to shout out Calvin Quallis. He is the founder and the CEO of Quallis Brands and Scotch Porter. So Scotch Porter is actually, and I actually use it, is a Black-owned multi-purpose handmade grooming and wellness product. And as they say, it helps you look good, smell good, and all that good stuff. So I use it. I got the beard shampoo, the beard conditioner, the serum
product line.
It's a product line. They have all stuff. They have stuff for your skin. They have stuff for your body, and they got stuff for your hair. They got stuff for your face. So yeah, I definitely support it. And yeah, you can get it at your local beauty supply, but I got mine off of Amazon, so you can get it all. They have so much stuff, and it's definitely worth it. So definitely shout out to Kevin Quallis and Scotch Porter. Josh, have you used it before? Or?
So personally, I have not.
Okay.
But I did do my research, and I'm going to check it out. Because I told y'all I got a beard now,
and it's flourishing.
I got a beard.
It's
now.
flourishing.
So I am going to take the leap and switch my beard balms. But I also found out that it can be found at Walmart and Target as well.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you don't want to go to the beauty supply store.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to, I know we're in Corona, we're trying to limit the amount of stores we're going to.
Right.
So you can go to the Walmart on your run or your Target on your run.
Put your mask on.
Yep. Put your mask on.
Put your mask on.
Wash your hands and your tail and go to the store and get your products. But shout out, bless up to them.
Yeah, bless up to them and go out and support if you can. And how about we go over to the billboard?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
All right, so this week in the billboard, we're going to start off with something a little, I guess, light.
Okay.
Light this week. And we're going to talk about Prime Time, known as Deion Sanders.
Yes.
Former Dallas Cowboy player. He played for some other folk, but I'm a Cowboy fan, so I'm going to throw that part out there.
Okay. My favorite football player of all time, just so y'all know.
He's taking his talents, his football expertise, so to speak, to the, they call it the Jackson State University. I can't necessarily attest to all of that because I didn't go there, but that is their kind of catchphrase, so to speak. But he's going there. And I think, Brian, it does great things for the HBCU community.
Yes,
There's been a lot of talk about a lot of our young black athletes taking their talents back to historically black colleges and universities, and some of the argument was like, all right, will they get looked at by NBA and NFL recruiters and things like that? Will they get some of the same attention? One, I think so. Oh yeah, right? Definitely. Especially in basketball, because those boys only play 1 year. They're gone. So I don't believe that level of talent will be overlooked because they went to an HBCU.
Right.
Furthermore, if you try to have the argument that they're not, their competition isn't that great, I think that can kind of be debunked too, because we had some guys who've done great in college and went to and played at some really great D1 schools and went to the NBA and was trash.
Right. Find out.
So if you got it, you got it. And I think everybody's rookie year is going to look different. How you develop professionally will look different. But I do think if we have some of our younger athletes out of high school going to HBCUs, taking their talents there, then the money's also going to follow.
Yep.
The supporters are going to be there. The primetime television spots are going to try to follow those players because it's going to be exciting. And I think it's going to kind of provide a level playing field in this whole NCAA sports arena. So shout out to them.
Yes,
shout
definitely.
out to Deion Sanders actually going. And I hope that he doesn't go build a resume and is out in 2 years. Because I know how volatile the college coaching arena can be. So I really hope he's there for the long haul. Because if nothing else, them boys going to want to go play for Deion Sanders.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He has the appeal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I'm super excited about that, and I'm excited about the possible residual effect that it has on the overall HBCU community.
Yep.
So, little Canadian man.
Oh, Lord.
By the name of Tory Lanez. We've talked about this, and hopefully this will be the last time we have to talk about him.
Hopefully he gets deported.
So y'all know that he, allegedly, right, shot Meg Thee Stallion while they were hanging out. Were they in Florida or New California? They were. I think they were in Cali.
Yeah, I think they were in Cali.
They were in Cali, and they were hanging out, and, the reports, according to certain sources, Megan mainly, that she got shot. And the reason why she was quiet was because she did what black women do in a lot of cases.
Protect black men.
Protect black men. And because of the racial climate, she did not want to inform the police what was going on.
Right.
And blah, 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 blah. Right. So all of that happened, all that came out, and Tory had been kind of quiet. From what we understand, his team had been kind of debunking or kind of talking against that accusation. But recently, on the same night of the Breonna Taylor verdict, he decides to drop this mixtape, this EP, this album of sorts, really as an entire diss record to Meg Thee Stallion. He called out quite some other people.
Yeah,
too,
he
but
called out a
mainly-
couple of people.
but mainly Meg. Pretty much, and he never. Here's the kicker. Well, before I get to the kicker, he called them. He called them out, pretty much saying, "You knew I wouldn't hurt you. This is in the third. How was it a gunshot wound if there were no bullets in your foot or like all kind of crazy stuff?" So then. The Shade Room somehow, and somebody need to get fired for HIPAA violation because the Shade Room somehow got medical records proving that there were like bullet fragments in her foot and they treated it as a gun wound injury and all these different types of things. Here's my beef, bro.
Okay, give it to me.
You did all of that and still didn't deny shooting that girl.
He didn't.
Like you still have not denied it.
At all.
Right? And that's what makes me even more frustrated about all of the other, particularly black men who are caping for Tory Lanez.
Right.
About y'all only heard one side, and if it was her against, if she would have shot him, blah 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 blah. And this is just in the third now. And all the other argument is that these women be lying. Look up blah blah. So granted, there are some like trash human beings who lie
that's
and
true.
make allegations, right? Whether that's rape allegations or whatever. But for the most part, I don't believe. I mean, in totality, if a victim comes up and says this happened to me, I have no reason not to believe them until proven otherwise.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? And I don't think that. I don't know Megan personally, but I don't think she doesn't come off to be the type of person, especially where her career is, to jeopardize all of her career, all of her success for this little 5'4" dude.
Ugh.
Like, I don't think that she would like just blatantly lie on him.
No.
And the fact that she even protected him for so long, and the reason why she even spoke out was because like she was starting to get dragged.
Yep.
So she was
By
like,
his
in order
people.
to protect my name and my brand, like let me tell you what happened.
Right.
If they would have just shut up, we would still be in the dark.
Right. And it's funny because we didn't even know. I didn't even know they were dating. So
Me either. Like, I like when they went back and showed like old clips. I remember seeing because I follow Meg, so I remember seeing like not vividly, but they like it. Hit my memory like the stuff that they show. I'm like, oh, I feel like I remember seeing this video before, whatever. So but. Because they just don't seem like a couple. Like that was like the 2 and 2 thing. I just thought they were two industry people, colleagues, partners, like hanging out, kicking it or whatever. And even if they were dating, as our auntie Tabitha Brown would say, she can do that because that's her business.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like I've said it once and I'll say it again. There is literally nothing that Megan could have done that would have warranted Tory Lanez to shoot her. Unless she shot that dude first.
Right.
There is nothing else.
Nothing.
Literally nothing else
No
that would have
excuses.
that can justify her being shot. So people are saying, well, we ain't doubting that she got shot, but did he do it? It happened in the car with them. So it's no one else was around. Tori said the best friend didn't do it. The best friend said she didn't do it. Megan said she didn't do it. There's only one other person in the car. Tori or the driver.
Right.
So I mean,
and Tory never said he didn't do it.
Exactly. He's just only trying to say, I wouldn't hurt you.
That's some
And
abusive type stuff.
It is some abusive type stuff. And even if and here's the thing, bro. Even if you didn't mean to actually shoot her, admit the fact that you shot the gun.
Yeah.
Because it could be one of those things where you was trying to be playful, quote unquote. You were trying to scare her and it actually hit her. Right. But even still, that's toxic and that's dangerous because we don't play like that.
No,
man.
you
Like,
play with guns.
I don't care how I don't even own a gun, but I don't care how angry I would ever become with Asha. There's no way that I'm going to shoot her.
No.
Or even like play with that. You know what I'm saying? To like, I'm not finna like. I don't have to scare you like that. If I want to scare you, I'm walk out the door and not come back for a night. Like there are other ways in which I can
not answer my phone.
Right, I not answer my phone. Do crazy stuff like that. But I'm not going to ever try to endanger you, even if it is for a joke or whatever. So he put out this mixtape, pretty much trying to debunk it, talking against Megan, and Megan hasn't responded. She did put like this coded picture up with rings and spelling out "F-U," and then the caption was just "mood." But I think she's doing what she needs to do now. She said her piece. She said her part. If there needs to be an investigation or a lawsuit, and there's the other thing: if she was lying that hard, I believe he would have sued her. There are so many things that he hasn't done that pretty much alludes to the fact that
he did it.
He did it.
Right.
You know, so that's my thing, bro. Like, I know if it was me and I didn't do it, the first thing I'm saying is like, I didn't do it. Like, yeah. I'm not going quiet. I'm immediately getting in front of this and say, I did not shoot this girl.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Right. Whether I want to tell the story or not because I'm protecting someone, that'll be something different. What I am going to do is clear my name.
Right.
And tell you what I didn't do. And then I would be fighting hard to prove to you that I did not do it.
Right.
Whether that's finding like gun records, like I'm talking whatever I need to do.
Whatever it takes to clear my name.
Whatever it takes to clear my name. And he's just out here putting out records. And then I read somewhere that he put out a tweet talking about I'm unmovable. God got me. Like, everybody want to find God.
Everyone want to talk about the Lord.
Everybody want to talk about the Lord. He wasn't in none of your conversations, and you didn't brought my mulatto Jesus inside of your conversations. now that you need. Now I believe grace is for everybody.
It is for everyone.
I really do. I believe grace is for everyone. But I am sick of y'all who haphazardly and conveniently want to call upon the Lord when you want to get out of a bind. Like, come on, own it. Like in this case, bruh, just own it. Like you've already lost a certain fan base.
Right.
So you might as well just kind of own that thing, try to recover whatever you can recover from your music career, and just be done with it.
Right. That's it. That's all you can do. That's all you can do.
That's all you can do in this moment. All right. Lastly, before because we got a nice little living room conversation we need to talk about.
Oh God.
Did you watch the debates last night?
Unfortunately, I did.
Well, Tuesday night, because by the time y'all hear this, it'll be Thursday. But Tuesday night.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did. I watched that show.
So it was the first presidential debate for the 2020 election.
My God.
With our kind of very limited candidate pool of Donald Trump and Joe Biden, Joseph Biden. It actually started off not terrible.
Okay.
Trump was going to do what he was going to do. Talk out the side of his neck. And Biden, for the first, I only going to give him about 10 minutes, seemed really composed. He was answering questions. You can tell that he was prepared. You can tell he was ready to give, as direct of an answer as a politician can give. Right. He was prepared to do that. What became increasingly clear as the debates went on was that Donald Trump did not prepare the same way.
At all. At all.
He interrupted Joe Biden so much so that you could not only see that Joe was clearly flustered, but Joe was like, man, will you just shut up, man?
Just shut up.
Like, it literally turned our presidential debate into a reunion of the Atlanta Housewives.
It did.
Just like,
it did. It was really messy. Like, and then your messy hole of a president goes sit there and say, "Your son's a cokehead." He called that man's son a cokehead.
Right. And what was even bad was that when he brought that up, Joe was actually referencing Bo, his deceased son.
Right.
But Donald Trump brought up Hunter, and then you saw Joe got super offended.
Yeah.
I would too. Right?
I would too.
So Trump was just hitting below the belt. And while I'm not giving Joe Biden a pass, because if we remember him in politics, he was always considered like the bulldog, the boisterous one.
Right.
And while that may have worked for him in the Senate, that is a level of discontent and a lack of composure that you cannot have
at all
while sitting in the president's seat. And you can tell that there were years of him not being restrained that had him so flustered. Because I believe if this was VP Biden or I believe he would have lost it all.
Oh.
And gave Trump, like, just probably cussed him out in the middle of the CNN.
Yeah, he probably would have fired on him. Like, it would have been some hands thrown.
But he just kept interrupting. I'm just like, and Trump lied so much. So many things he said was just untrue. You can tell that he's ridiculously unqualified. And his tracks were showing. You spent $70,000 on hair for your tracks to be showing on national television, sir.
A mess.
It was terrible. I think the American people were the ones who lost last night.
Yes, we did.
There are 2 more debates scheduled. I am not excited about either one of them.
I'm not.
For now, it looks like both of them are going to participate, so we're going to get them. And it's like a train wreck. I'm going to watch it. But It was just so bad. I'm actually a little bit more excited to see Kamala debate Mike Pence.
Oh, she gonna
one because
roast
she's masterful, and she's a trained litigator, and that's why 4 years ago, the Hillary Trump debates were so much better because Hillary is a trained litigator. And she sat through all these different trials like the Benghazi, all this kind of stuff, to where she has the level of patience, she has the level of tact to really handle a Trump and be flustered, but using her skills as a litigator to get past that and really attack. Like, even when he called her a nasty woman, she embraced it and went dead into it. So I think that he needs to sit down with Hillary, one, for some skills on how to adequately debate, and two, like, figure, because she did it. Like, she may have lost the election, but she successfully debated Donald Trump. Say what you want to say. So for her to give him pointers of, like, this is how he's going, like, you saw how he's going to come, right? This is the ways in which you need to attack. And I saw the little tweet from Nene.
Listen,
said that Biden needs a read session. She want to talk to him, and Nene will get him right.
Right, he needs some clapbacks. His clapbacks are weak.
He needs some clap, because with a Donald Trump, you don't want to go like so immature, because the Bible teaches us about arguing with a fool.
Oh yeah,
I'll bring this word in here.
Go Bible.
But at the same time, you do want to be able to kind of artistically rebut some of the things that he's saying, because he's a classic case of a bully, a narcissist. Oh yeah. So there will be moments where you kind of need to very intelligently and like with strategy kind of come at him.
Oh, you gotta humble him.
You gotta humble him real quick. Like, you ain't gotta. And the best Joe had, because he was frustrated, was shut up. Like, and he called him a clown.
He did. Yeah.
He called him a clown, which was cool. But you needed some like gut punches.
Oh yeah.
Some of the things like talking about, like when he said things like he wears a mask. When he feel like it's necessary. My clapback would have been, oh, is that when you are on or off your marriage with Melania? Like, when, I would have thrown stuff, because we never see y'all together. Ever. And this is the first time she's ever had on a mask in public. You know what I'm saying? But like, and maybe that was petty, but I probably would have tried to find ways to really kind of debunk everything that he said, to kind of hit him where it hurts in a sense, without necessarily losing all of my cool too. But,
right. Yeah, because the thing is, I think Trump's plan is to fluster him, because we know Joe Biden is old. He's elderly. Right. So he hopefully wants to expose, Donald Trump, even though he's crazy, he's sharper in terms of wit and being quick. Yes. He's quicker than Joe Biden. So I think what he wants is Joe to kind of frustrate him enough to where Joe says something off the handle and gets flustered and can't get back. So I think he did a good job. My whole thing was, even though Joe did say a few things that, I didn't necessarily agree with, to me, it was more so the fact of like, just don't say anything too bad that you have to come back and like kind of do a lot of damage control, which Donald Trump said some stuff, and the
fact that he told the what's them boys, the party boys, the good boys, whatever their names are, the white supremacists, Nazi men, that's who they are, whatever their names are. He told them to stand by and stand back. So if anybody knows anything about the meaning of stand by, it means to pretty much be put on hold.
Right. Just
it don't mean
chill for a little bit. Chill for now.
Right. Chill for now. Mm-hmm. Right. You know what I'm saying? The good boys, whatever their name. I don't know what their names are. But and they went and tweeted like in celebration.
Oh yeah.
Of that, because they also understand what that means.
Yeah.
And he's now trying to disassociate himself. So I don't even know who that group is.
Lies.
And, blah blah blah. They need to stop and let the police, like, bro, you call their names. We like the moderator didn't. He just said, "Are you willing to speak against white supremacy groups?" He didn't call anyone's name.
Listen,
you called their name.
You called their name.
So for somebody who allegedly does not know who they are, you were very familiar with their name, and the way in which you decided to address them was not to say, I am against it, they need to stop, it is un-American, blah 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 blah. Like Donald Trump even said that anti-racist training is racist. Like, he said so many terrible things.
So many things.
And law and order is just a coded word for racism.
Yeah, and for lock niggas up.
Yeah,
lock black and brown people up. That's what it is for.
That's pretty much what it means. So yeah, man, it was a complete crap fest last night, and the CNN moderators were like visibly they were irritated.
Yeah, it was bad.
They were irritated. So like this just lets us know that this election is going to be one for the books, and y'all stay tuned because we're going to have a really important episode coming soon.
Yes,
where we talk about all the things that comes with voting and why you need to vote. I don't care what Hotep, Dr. Umar stuff you've been listening to. Right, you need to vote because even if you don't like the two options, there are local elections that matter. Breonna Taylor, hello, that attorney general was voted in. So when you say that voting doesn't matter, it is your local elections that sometimes matter the most. And when we skip November, we skip those AG elections and stuff as well. Yep. So you're not just skipping out on the Biden-Trump. You're skipping out on stuff like, not to say that voting is an end-all be-all, right? I still think there has to be strategy. Right. But who's to say if we had a better AG in Kentucky that Breonna Taylor, she probably would have more justice right now. Right. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of stuff comes with us voting. So don't want to get on that soapbox, but it's always a great time to talk about racism. Always a good time. Always. So I think that's all I got, bro. You ready to head to the living room?
Let's go on over.
Yep, let's get your drinks, get your water, get your snacks, get everything that you need, and let's get ready to do it.
Let's do it.
It's about to change. Do it with some soul in a little.
All right, we are here in the living room. Thank y'all for staying here with us. We have something to talk about tonight or today. We got something to talk about.
We got something to talk about. You sang it.
I sang it
in the song of the week.
Let's talk about sex.
Let's
talk about it. Let's talk about it. And it's interesting because two black men. I thought it might be a good time to have a conversation about sex. So let me get the what was your introduction to sex?
Mighty God.
My God.
You know I've been pure.
I've been chaste. I had no sex.
I had no sex.
I've been just walking with the Lord.
I've been walking with the Lord until he sent my wife. But no, I think my introduction, honestly, and sorry, Mama.
Sorry, parents.
I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. I know you're probably listening. But yeah, so my first introduction to it was, I would probably say, honestly, 6th grade.
Okay.
And not like I was having sex, right?
Right. It's clear it up.
Yeah, I wouldn't have, Mama, you don't have to worry. I was not having sex at 12 years old, 11 years old. But what it was introduced to me, because I don't know why I remember this so vividly. I would not say her name because I don't know where she is in life, but I remember her name. It just came back to me. But there was like this group of girls in class, and 6th grade. And here's the interesting thing. So in Memphis, let me just do this. This gives this a little bit of context. In Memphis, it's different now. But when I was in school, elementary school ended in 6th grade.
That's how I was.
Yeah. So now it's 5th grade, and elementary is 5th grade, or with all the different kind of stuff nowadays. But I said that to say, I think that whole 1 year difference really changes the dynamic of how you interact and what puberty kind of looks like.
Okay.
Because a lot of times puberty kind of begins at that 11-year-old, 12-year-old kind of stage, right? So, but in 6th grade, we were still in elementary school. So while we were going through those kind of emotions and body changing and things like that, we were also still like having recess. Right. And not switching class. Like when I got in 7th grade, like we were switching classes. We had like 1st, 2nd, 3rd period. And my 7th grade experience was like 7th to 12th. So I was like,
wow, okay.
It was everybody. Yeah, because there was no middle school in my district.
Wow, okay.
Until they built one, and I went to a different school for 8th grade, went back to my high school because it was there 9 through 12. Another story, another day about education and disparities among black schools in inner cities. Right. But anyway, so I give that context because we were still like treated like really young babies, but we weren't, like our bodies and what we were going through was not suggesting the same thing. Right. So I never forget it. We were headed to, I won't lie and say what special class we were going to, but it was like one of them specials, art, music, something like that. But we was going through a bathroom break, and I remember the girls talking about penises.
Okay.
And I'm standing there like, because my mama's a saint. She's an evangelist.
Sanctified. Holy.
And although my dad wasn't like super involved in the church at the time, like he was like, I still grew up in a very Christian household, and that was just like at 11 years old. I was still covering my eyes on certain scenes. And, my mama did not let me watch American Pie. Like that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so I grew up. I won't say sheltered. My parents were very intentional about what they exposed us to. Right. So when I heard them kind of talking about that, I was taken aback. And children who are young, they start cussing.
Right.
And I wasn't, even though I wasn't quote unquote like a super saint as a sixth grader, I also, even outside my parents' presence at that age, I wasn't trying to cuss at all. Because God forbid a teacher hear me.
I was cussing.
I wasn't. I didn't start cussing until a lot later. But at that age, and why is cussing even relevant to this story? It's relevant because in that moment when the girls were talking about penises and whatever they were talking about, the guys were saying something, man, you can suck my and blah, blah, blah. And I was saying stuff like, you can kiss my butt. Because I just couldn't force myself to say it. And and in that moment I felt weird. I felt inexperienced. I felt. And in sixth grade, I didn't feel like I needed to lie. It wasn't until seventh grade, eighth grade when I started lying on bodies. But y'all forgive me. So that was like my introduction. Like I think all of us going through puberty, and even those girls probably not knowing much of anything.
Right.
But then not downplaying them because they might have known a little something. I don't know what they knew. Right. All I knew was they were talking about penises, and the guys were saying you can suck my whatever, and I was just like, oh, my little ears are just getting exposed. But from there, you know what I'm saying? It's just like and when I got to seventh grade and eighth grade, like the conversation just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And seventh grade we took gym. We had to like change clothes, and the girls would come out with their jeans and then come back out with their little shorts. And I'm looking at them different. Like you ain't you ain't melanin. That was in my sister. That was in science lab with me last year. Right. So that was my. How about you? That was my introduction.
Introduction. Interestingly, around the same age, like around fifth grade, sixth grade, probably fifth grade, fifth grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. Around that time, I was actually walking home from school, and there was a like a porno magazine like in the gutter.
Okay.
And I picked it up, and I was walking with my older brother. Shouts out to my older brother. I was walking with my older brother, and I picked it up, and I was like, oh, like, I looked at it, and I was like, oh, like, and those, back in the day.
That's what y'all do at Pomona.
So back in the day, I guess, it wasn't as easy as like a click on your Google search, whatever. So if you wanted to see like nudity, you had to have like the magazine or whatever. Because even if you go to like the liquor store or the corner store, the magazines would be there, but they would be like covered. We were walking home, and I found the magazine, and I was like, I opened it up, and I was like, whoa. And mind you, I had no clue what I was looking at. Yeah. But I knew I was supposed to like, or I liked what I was looking at. And mind you, my brother and I, we're only really, we're born on the same day, exactly a year apart. So he's
hood twins.
So exactly a year apart. And the thing, I don't know how he knew, and he may not even knew nothing, but he was schooling me on what everything was, right? So he was telling me, of course, he wasn't using, scientific vernacular. He was, calling stuff what it was, and, this is and that, and this is what, so my brother is actually the first person who kind of introduced me or explained to me what was in this magazine. So, of course, after that, that's when your mind is exposed and open. Once you see, it's like a Pandora's box. Once you see it, it's like, oh, okay, well, all right. Like, and then that's when I'm looking at, like you said, looking at the girls like, oh, all right. And then you had your little girlfriends and stuff like that in elementary school. And now y'all trying to like hug each other and, do all kind of stupid stuff that you know what you're really doing, and got your all your clothes on, and all, you know what I'm saying? Not to go into, too much of a detail, but, you thinking you doing stuff. So, yeah, that's how it was. It was actually on my way home from school. saw the magazine, opened the magazine up, and was like, "What is this?" Talked to my brother about it, and then ever since then, it was like, ain't no going back. And then even on top of that, it was also the hormones, like, you know, so you waking up in the morning and certain stuff, you know, that used to happen is now happening.
It's now happening.
It's now happening. You're like, oh, or you like the good movie, The Wood, no pun intended. When
all pun intended.
All pun intended. When he's sitting there and he's in the class and he sees, I don't know what the girl's name is. She walks up to the
Alicia.
desk. Alicia.
There it is. We were trying to think about that for like 2 days.
Alicia, she walked up there and he's like looking and he's like, oh snap. And then all of a sudden, you know, he's growing, you know.
Because I think that scene, they had to be like 7th grade.
Yeah. It
like
was
somewhere in there too. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause they were like in middle school. So around that, and it could have been like 6th, 7th grade. We don't know what, might have been 7th grade, but yeah.
It was definitely middle school.
It was definitely middle school. But yeah, so it's at that same point where it's like, you're becoming like aware to it, and then like now your body is responding to, you know, and the funny thing is like I think my body was already responding to things that I didn't even know which it was responding to, but then once I saw the nudity, it was like, oh, that's why I'm responding. You know what I mean?
And I think it was the same thing for me. Like while I didn't see like a magazine or anything like that, the conversation, right, and how they were. Maybe somebody else had the same experience you had.
Right.
Maybe they saw a magazine or a video or something at their uncle's house that they, you know, found their daddy tape or, you know, whatever. And they came to school and was talking like they knew. Because, you know, when you're young, it's cool to be in the know and to act like you're experienced and to do all these other types of things. And, like, even though that was my first experience, I remember walking home. Like, 'cause I used to walk home, right, with friends. And they would be talking about girls and start going into details that I just didn't have details about.
I had no clue what y'all was talking about.
I'm just listening and nodding my head, like you said, and I'm intrigued. And I don't know quite why I'm intrigued. And then, like, my sister went to the, when I was in, me and Shonda are 3 years apart. So when I was in 6th, that made her, 7th, 8th, 9th grade. So she's like, I'm meeting her at Hillcrest because she's, you know, she's over there, and like I'm seeing her little friends, and they, you know, they 9th grade.
Listen,
so they ain't no more training bras, ain't no more none of that. They, you know, they are
mosquito
you know,
bites.
Right. They are pretty filled out young women.
Right.
And now I'm having these conversations. I'm looking at her friends like, oh, hey friend.
Can I have a
and
hug?
Then they friend got little sisters. I'm like, hey, you know what I'm saying? So like, you're right. Like. It's those, like, I think the conversations and whatever we're exposed to, while our bodies may have already been responding, we weren't aware until, like, something woke us up.
Right.
Shout out to Woke on Hulu.
Right. Great show.
Like, woke us up and was like, whoa, this is why, you know, A, B, and C is why X, Y, Z.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and that's, and it's weird because it's like, because, you know, like you said, kind of going back to what you said as far as being in the know, like you know, it was a situation where I was like hearing the conversations, and then I would like kind of like like I said, trying to be that person that's in the know, and then hear somebody else's conversations and their stories, and then go to another group of people and be like, well, you know, I was doing, you know, X, Y, Z, and then I did this with my this and that and blah blah blah, and then they looking at me like, oh snap, you know, oh you did all that, and I'm sitting there lying because I just really wanted to be in the know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's crazy, but you know, it's interesting. Like, you know, once that happened to me, my brother and I had the conversation, but I wouldn't really consider like that, like the talk. So, you know, did you have like the talk?
Did I have
like,
the talk?
The talk. And if so, like, how was it?
So I did.
Okay.
I had it at 2 times in my life. The first time was with my dad.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was ironic because growing up, you know, black folk, we don't send our children to camp. Okay. Historically, we don't. Right? We, you know, you go, you know, camp in black houses is typically lock my door and don't open it for no like that was
latchkey kids, yes.
Right, that was summer, right? But most summers though, when we were a lot younger, my mom would. The reason I'm so close to my grandparents is because in the summertime, Monday through Friday, or Sunday night through Friday afternoon, we would literally live with our grandparents because my mom and them, they had nowhere for us to go.
Right.
And we were too young to be at home by ourselves, and Rashonda was too young to watch both of, me and Jessica.
Right.
So we would go to, like, literally. So for like 2 months or so, our grandparents pretty much raised us. We was at home on the weekends.
Okay.
And then when school started back, back to normal.
Okay.
So I remember one of these summers though, one of them days, I can't tell you if I asked for it or my parents planned it, but I went to work with my dad.
All right.
And at the time, he worked as an IT specialist for a local hospital. And most of his job was like troubleshooting and, repairing and all this other kind of stuff. And this particular day, I'll never forget it because the conversation was just so... The conversation. And he was putting together like these PCs for this new department. Like setting up those PCs and getting ready to put in these offices and cubicles, whatever. So on one end, he started teaching me how to, because this is going to age me a little bit, but like the modern day home computer isn't really an old phenomenon. You know what I'm saying? People like computers are ubiquitous now, but back then, like in the 90s, early 2000s, like everybody didn't have no computer. Like everybody was pretty much technology deficient. Right. At a point, like we are the generation that grew up learning how to do it, which is why we can navigate technology so easily. Right. Because we knew everything from VCRs to DVD. Like we've had it all. So anyway, my dad was teaching me how to put a computer together, like how to break one down, put it together, ABC 1 2 3. And if you know anything about computers, they actually call the parts male and female parts because of like the holes and the little studs. Okay. But my dad decided to take it a step further. Okay. Instead of calling them male and female parts, he was like, this is the the D, and this is the P, and this goes in here. And if you know anything about an older PC, when you push the cord in, there were 2 little knobs on the side who you had to like tighten it. Okay. You gotta tighten it because that's your protection. And and I'm just
keep it tight.
I'm kind of like following, and I'm kind of lost. And he would stop and say things like, "You understand what I'm saying?" I'm like,
"Are we talking about?" I think I know what we're talking about.
And I was kind of afraid to say yes because I didn't want him to know that I knew because I didn't. But at the same time, I was kind of confused. And as I got older, I realized what he was trying to do. Right. Because again, I think I've said this. My dad is not like super. Like we have a amazing relationship today, but like growing up, he still isn't like super emotional. But I think talking to an 11-year-old, 12-year-old, he probably was like, how do I have this conversation? Like, oh, I got him here. Here's a way to do it. And like, it was cool. We went on about the day and that was it. The second time I had to talk, I had a high school sweetheart. Oh. Which means anybody, like, in my opinion, you have a high school sweetheart, that means you dated this person for a matter. Me and this young lady dated from like second semester, freshman year, all the way up until like first semester, senior year. We broke up senior year. Okay. Anyway,
that was good. That was a good while. Oh, wow.
That was a good while, right? Cutest couple, by the way. So all the ugly couples that lost to us. Aww. Anyway, but no. So like when I was like in the thrust of dating, I think my mom saw how close we had become because there were some days after school where I would walk to her house and my mom would pick me up from her house. But her little sisters were there. My little sister was there. So like, nothing happened. I can honestly say nothing happened. Did we get a little fresh sometimes? Yes. But nothing happened. I think my mom kind of picked up on the seriousness of that little puppy love and relationship. So I'll never forget this too. She called me in the kitchen. She was cooking. And she just came out and she said, "You and that little girl having sex." I was like,
whoa, okay. Good morning.
Like, and I brought immediately my stomach started hurting. I felt nauseous. She's like, That's why my mom was deep. That's why you're nauseous because it's something you ain't telling me, and it's about to come up.
Sanctified. You got the Holy Ghost.
Listen, I said, "Mama," I said, "You literally catch me off guard, and this is like really like nerve wracking and embarrassing, and I'm pretty sure that's why I'm feeling this way, and because I didn't have anything to hide because I wasn't doing anything, right?" So, but she pretty much just came from, it was a more real conversation, but even after she got through with some of her kind of deep spiritual undertones and overtones, right, she was also like, "You need to put your little penis in a condom. You need to talk to your dad." Because like, I think her thing was as as into church and into, her relationship and sanctification as she is, I won't say is, right? I think at the end of it all, she was also a very realistic parent. My mama also kind of knew I was a little flirtatious. I've heard her call me a tramp before when I was when I was younger, talking to her friends. That Josh, I'm gonna watch him because he's a little tramp. But I said it to say while she wanted me to remain abstinent and pure, I think she was also she was also very realistic. And from her standpoint was, if you're doing this, if you're going to do this, talk to me and your dad. Right. At least talk to your daddy, right? So that we can make sure you have what you need to be safe. No babies, no STDs, those type of things. So those were the two versions, very different versions of the talk. Very different. But still versions of it nonetheless. Did you ever have the talk with anyone?
No, I never had like the talk. I will say that sex was always like a topic in the house. So it wasn't like a situation where it was like anybody ever sat down and was like, let me say, my mother was never like bashful to talk about sex. Cause she never wanted it to be like, a thing. It was normal. Like my mom, I got 3 or 4 of y'all. I got 4 of y'all. So y'all got here for a reason. So, sex is a thing. So like, there's no need to act like it's just something that, is like taboo or not to talk about. So we always talked about it. And also my sister, who's about 4 years older than me. So like one of her, like the freshman or sophomore year in high school, she was working at a clinic. So she was like, and that was one of her areas. When she was like a sophomore in high school, she worked or interned or whatever at a clinic. So one of her, areas of discussion was, safe sex and protection. So she always had like condoms at the house and stuff like that, because that was a part of her job. So I never had like the talk about sex, but it was always a conversation. Like it wasn't something like, sometimes you hear about sex and kids start giggling like, ooh, it's you said sex or whatever. It was like, it was never like a something I would ever shy, from, in terms of having the conversation. But I never had like, of course I wish I would have had, conversations, or the talk, like as far as explaining things. I had like in 6th grade, what's that thing called? Sex ed. Sex ed, yeah. So I had sex ed, but that's not really, I don't think sex ed really is like the talk. It just shows like this old 70s video, and these little Becky and Johnny, they meet each other and, they lay down in the park, and then all of a sudden they show you a baby falling out of, how about to say vagina? A baby falling out of her vagina. And then they saying, oh, you shouldn't be having sex. So it really isn't the thing to like have a conversation about like the importance of sex and all that kind of stuff. All. It's really just to show y'all like, if you have sex, you're going to get pregnant. Right? And that was it.
I mean, and they weren't necessarily wrong, because if you think about sex from just like a scientific standpoint, and depending on how spiritual and stuff you are, right? Sex is at its root, for like one of its roots is procreation. If you're talking about heterosexual sex between a man and woman, right? It is for procreation. But on the flip side, right, sex is also for pleasure. Like, I'm not having sex just to like, oh, I'm gonna make a baby. No, like I'm having sex because it feels good. I'm having sex because, all the emotions and everything that's tied to it, the euphoria of a climax, all of those different types of things. So, like, from a school standpoint, yes, I think they did their job in teaching us about, contraceptives and things like that. Because I think we didn't actually have sex ed. It was just part of our health class.
Okay.
And we had to, like, we were sent home this form that said, like, we're going to be teaching it this week. Do you want your child in it? Because I think we could have went to, like, the library or something if our parents said no. My parents signed off on it because, like, again, like, it wasn't, like, an open topic in our house, but it was also something my parents didn't necessarily shy away from.
Okay.
Because, like, my parents didn't necessarily, like, one no TV guards on our TV. When the sex scene came, my parents were like, cover your eyes. Or my mom would convene and be like, go put me some more juice. Like those types of things. But at the same time, like, it wasn't, I don't know, like, it wasn't like, it just wasn't, it wasn't taboo, but it also wasn't like freely talked about. So I don't think my mom had a problem with the school teaching us about condoms and ABC and 1, 2, 3. Sex ed is not the end all be all. And any parents out here who may be dealing with a preteen, don't you let that middle school be the only conversation.
Right.
that they have, because just like me and Brian, if you don't talk to them about it in some regard, their friends are going to talk about sex.
Oh yeah.
Their friends are going to talk about something, especially if you're raising your child. I don't want to say innocent, but like if you have, like for us, like we have guards on their iPads and things like that. So while Josh may be curious about certain things or whatever as he's growing up, he's also the type of child who's just not watching sex scenes and listening to, you know, kind of, he ain't listening to Chris, like certain Chris Brown songs I don't play around my son, right? Because he is very much in tune with language. Right. And I don't need him to know what take you, like, Daddy, what does take you down, man? Like, take you down to the riverside.
To get baptized.
Right, to go get baptized. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, parents definitely do a better job. Speaking of that though, Brian, like is there any good or bad advice? Like after the initial like crazy conversation with your peers and your brothers, like, was like good advice or just general bad advice that you received about sex?
I think let me see. Okay, so even though like we didn't have like the talk with my mom, she always, you know, said that you should enter sex with maturity. You know what I'm saying? Of course, the objective was, you know, be married, because my mom was sanctified. So, you know, they practice abstinence. Amen. But my mom wasn't stupid. You know what I'm saying? She understood that it was like, that, you know, because my mom was in high school at one point, she was in middle school at one point, so she knew all this stuff. So her advice really was just like, you know, if you go and do it, of course, protection is the thing and is necessary. But as far as your level of maturity, but as far as let me see some of the advice that I got from my peers was, I know one dude said that you gotta in order for you to last long, he said, don't squeeze your butt cheeks.
Don't
squeeze your butt cheeks. Gotta stay relaxed.
Okay. I ain't never heard that one, Reverend.
I said, all right, well, bless you. Okay. What else was funny? Of course, you hear like the stupid stuff like, you know, yeah, you have sex in certain positions, you can't get somebody pregnant, and you know,
like if she's on top, she can't get pregnant.
Right.
I'm here to tell you that is a lie.
Testify, Medicon.
I got 2 pieces of empirical evidence upstairs that can tell you that is a lie.
Hilarious.
It's so many bad things. I've heard someone tell me one time that like orange juice like somehow increases your libido.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know, I'm like, you know, am I trying to get it up, or am I trying to be healthy? Like, am I trying to increase this vitamin C intake? Like that was something really done. One really good thing I think I heard about sex, which was, again, sorry, Mom, I lost my virginity freshman year of high school. I mean,
okay. Oh, all right.
College. Freshman year of college. And one thing that I will say about the experience before I got into it was that I had a friend of mine at the time who, like, we were like getting condoms. Like the infirmary at Morehouse had a bucket full of them, but they were just all kind of stuff, because I mean that's the infirmary, right?
Right.
It's the clinic at the school. You go get your things.
Right.
And one conversation we had was like, Josh, you need to know what type of condom you want.
Oh Lord.
And I'm like, you know,
a condom's a condom.
But yeah, a condom is a condom. But the reason I'm gonna tell you that it's good advice is because like not all condoms are made equal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So in my mind, that's what I'm thinking. Like a condom is a condom. Like I'm just trying to be safe. But you got like the thin. You got like cheap brands that may bust. You got Magnums. You got Magnum extra larges. You got all these different types of things. And if you're not sure of yourself, you can find yourself with one of them condoms slipping off. You can find it with, if you get a super sensitive one where to your your advice person, no matter how relaxed you are, it's gonna end quickly. You know what I'm saying? Because it's supposed to feel more natural. Or you got the lamb skin. Like there's literally
so much
that you don't know.
Lubed and ribbed,
right, all that different kind of stuff. So like we kind of had a conversation. I was able to choose at the time what I thought was the best fit for me. So that was a great piece of advice going into it as well. Like just kind of understanding the differences in contraceptives and also understanding, and me, anybody who know me and Brian, y'all know we preachers, we Christian.
We love the Lord.
We're not celebrating premarital sex, but what we are saying is that in the experience of having it,
right,
like there are certain things that, and we also being realistic.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Humans are gonna do what humans do, and sometimes that means that we fall prey to our flesh. And
exactly. That's the word of God.
And we engage right in those activities. I'm not even trying to justify that, but I'm just saying that's what it is. But anyway, as you're preparing and seeking to be responsible, I think there are different things that are supposed to be like clear, but you don't but sometimes when you're a novice or you're unlearned,
right, like
you don't understand that there's so much more that can go into this. And for me, that was a good piece of advice, because all I ever heard, the little bit of advice that I did hear growing up was, if you do have sex, wear a condom. But I didn't know when I got to Walgreens that it was a whole row.
Right.
And different brands, like you said, different brands, all the different kind of stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not finna ask nobody. But thankfully I had a friend that I could talk to, and we talked through it, and I felt like I made a decent
right. And I even think, like, if you got to consider the fact of like even when it comes to the when it came to sex, when it was talked about, it was really just the surface, right? It was don't have sex because you'll get somebody pregnant, right? But it was never really the conversations that went deeper than just the sex, like as far as what that does, what your maturity level is when it comes to having sex, or your maturity, your emotional maturity, your ability to handle your body can handle the sex, but can you mentally handle the sex? So even when like the conversations were had in terms of sex, even with our friends in our friends group and stuff like that, we never really discussed the emotional, not emotional, but the mental aspect of sex. So it was always like, again, don't have sex, you might get somebody pregnant. But it was never like, don't have sex with this person because you might be sprung, or wide open and you stuck on this person. It was never that conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think because whether we want to admit it or not, sex comes with emotion.
Right.
And it comes with a connection. Whether you want to get real deep, and I don't feel like doing that, talking about soul ties and all that kind of stuff.
All right.
But what I will say is that when a lot of people can't separate sex from emotion and love and all that kind of stuff. Like there are some people who could do the one night stand or whatever, and going on about their business. Right. Again, college. But what I will say is that like everybody can't, and especially when you're that young, puppy love is a thing.
Yeah.
And while me and my high school sweetheart did not engage, I feel like if we had, there may have been room for us. I don't think we would have gotten married or anything like that. I believe I married who I'm supposed to have been married to.
Amen. Wonderful woman of God.
Yeah, but what I will say is that maybe we would not have broken up because of all of the different emotions tied to what could have been, right? So I think that's very true. When we're having these conversations, it's not just that I don't want you to have sex because you're my child, but I think more of that is attached to the fact that I think you're too immature for what a sexual relationship brings. Right. Because also when you're 16, 15, you're horny. And while you may have a girlfriend, if somebody else is, attracted, and then you get into this space of being irresponsible, and because you're not the most responsible at that age, and you're probably trying to hide condoms from your parents, you're trying to sneak around, do this, and you're trying to sneak around from your girlfriend, like you're doing a lot because you're not supposed to be doing it, right? So I think just that level of immaturity is reason enough for you to at least be in a space to where say, hey, I'm an adult. I have this, maybe I have some freedom now. Right. Maybe this is a time I can start thinking through what this next level kind of looks like.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what's, we kind of talked about as far as the soul ties and stuff like that. And even you said it earlier, and if you listen to the podcast, we church kids. So even with the good advice, the bad advice, let's kind of just talk about this, like as far as church, your Christian upbringing and background, how did that affect your ideas on sex? I can kind of say, even for me, I didn't have sex as early as I probably wanted to, because of the fear, the fear of the Lord. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, me too.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the reason why it happened freshman year of college was because there was a level, I was away from my parents and away from it all, right? So I felt like everything, I didn't have to sneak, I didn't have to do anything.
Right.
When I wanted
Freedom.
to do it, I was able to do it. And to your point too, it was also the condemnation of it all.
Right. Because I was the fear of like, as soon as it's going to happen,
somebody gonna get pregnant. I'm gonna start itching.
Yeah,
something gonna happen.
Something's gonna happen. The Lord gonna open the sky, and then I'm gonna be caught in sin. Like
I'm gonna be caught. He gonna rapture me.
I'm gonna get left behind. Right in the middle of it. So yeah, that was the thing, is I think it was the fear of like condemnation was something that kind of really messed me up. That's why I consider myself like a late bloomer. I didn't have sex until I was like. I was really a late bloomer. 21 maybe.
Oh, that's fine.
Right, 21, 22, 21. How old was I? Telling all my business here. But yeah, so it was and that's the thing, but it was also like, and then after I had sex, I was like, oh Lord.
I'm gonna die.
I'm a sinner.
In hell, I'm gonna lift up my eyes.
I'm a sinner, Lord. Like, save me.
It was like fighting temptation. What kind of sinner is she? Unrepentant.
And then I did it again.
I did it again.
Said, Lord, forgive me.
Lord, forgive me. Then I went on a break and then
did it again.
But no, man, I think where the church failed us, and they failed people, is they always preach the condemnation of sex.
Right.
Like, don't have sex, you're married. 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 Right? And according to our Christian principles, that's right. Right? If your faith is in the Christian faith, or whatever your ethics and morals are, because we may have some people who are not Christian but still believe in, married sex. Then it's absolutely right. I'm not going to ever condemn anybody for being a virgin until marriage or anything like that. There's no shame in it. There's anything. And I think that the church does an overly good job making sure that we remain pure.
Right.
However, why I think the church fails is we talk so much about the consequences of premarital sex that we almost condition people to not embrace their sexuality.
Right.
Because you have so many, I think women maybe suffer from it most. The men, they get into the marriage bedroom and they don't know how to navigate. They still are dealing with, they're married now, and they still deal with a guilt of doing it. They're still, because so many times they were taught that it was nasty. And you shouldn't be doing it. So when you grow up thinking that something is disgusting, you don't embrace the beauty of it, because it was taught to you in a way that was supposed to incite fear instead of educating you about why it's, I think going back to the maturity point, right? If this is my faith, why is it important to remain a virgin until marriage? Why, you shouldn't want to do A, B, and C and these kind of things, but also on the flip side, explaining that sex is ordained and God, when he said be fruitful and multiply, yes, procreation, but also like engage your spouse and enjoy it. Enjoy it. Like Song of Solomon is a whole book. You know what I'm saying, that talks about the beauty of sexual interaction and things of that magnitude. And I think that we have to debunk this myth that sex is bad. Sex isn't wrong. No. Sex outside of the confines of your belief system is wrong.
Right. And yeah, and the thing is, like I said, they did a bad job of painting, like sex was always bad. And then what happens is, when you hear that it's so bad, but then when you have it and it feels good, then it's like, oh, well, if living right, if doing this is wrong,
I don't want to be right.
I don't want to be right. So then you dive into that. But even like considering like the thought process, the maturity behind it, even, mind we're both preachers here, but even when I like talk to my mentees about sex, of course, the conversation is like, marriage is right. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just because marriage is right, because it's like all those other things you have to deal with, or the thought process, or the emotional issues you have to deal with, and even like some of the comparisons. So you over here, knocking boots with a whole bunch of people, and then you get married and the person that you're knocking boots with ain't as good as all the other people you was knocking boots with, then you're going to be thinking like, oh,
exactly.
I wonder where they are.
and that's real too, right? I think that's part of the story of why I'm not gonna say it's important for you to be a virgin, but I think that should be a part of the conversation, right? Because if somebody's doing something sexually, like if you we're dealing with this big old, Megan got the song called "Big Old Freak."
Big old freak.
Yeah. But no, if you were with that kind of, okay, let's consider the song "WAP," and we may talk about that a little bit more. But like those women are very explicit about what they want, what they would do, all these different kind of things. So if you go from in one experience dealing with that type of person, let me just say person, then and you get married to somebody who's a lot more conservative,
right?
I'm not gonna say you set yourself up for failure, but you are in a position to like, whoa. I was used to
toes curling,
right? Toes curling, all different types of toys, lube, like, and if this
positions,
like, nope,
sweating, all kinds of stuff.
I just want to be on top, or I just want to lay there and do your business, as they say,
with all my clothes on,
in color purple, right? You know what I'm saying? So, I think like that should be a part of the conversation, and those aren't a part of the conversation. And you're right. When I talk to my mentees, these are some of the conversations that I've had too, like some of the reasons why you should wait. But also, I told you what my mama told me. As sanctified as she was, she's like, but if you decide to,
exactly.
Here are some of the things you need to do. And these are some of the things you need to be aware of. Right. So, because I told my mentees, like, if you need me to take you to go get a condom, I will go.
Easy.
Like, I'm not encouraging you to smash and do all this other kind of stuff, but I'd rather you, instead of trying to test your pullout game, or messing with somebody who may not be as pure or clean or whatever as you, right? I want you to be protected. So so if we gotta go, I ain't buying nothing extra. Anything extra you want, that's your business.
No, you ain't buying no KY and all that kind of stuff.
I ain't buying none of that crap, but I will go spend, say $7-8 on a 2-pack and, and make sure that you're good for the night. And I think that is the conversation that's missing. You don't have to encourage sex to also be able to teach safe sex. Right.
Because you can preach abstinence.
Yes.
But you also have to, understand like, wisdom, because Bible says, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
And Paul even says the good that I would do, I don't.
I don't. Yeah. I don't, and we can go through all kinds of scriptures that kind of tell you like, in the flesh dwelleth no good thing. Like, so it's like the thing of like, yeah, I know it's wrong, but it's like, I'm, one of your favorite rappers, has a song called Church. You know what I'm saying? It's what has it go? That she want to do sex, have drugs. She wants to
in the morning. She want to have drinks, have sex, and something.
But
I got church in the morning. Be a Chicago kid and chance rapper. Yes.
Right, and then maybe we can make it heaven because I'm staying. Like I'm here. I'm here.
So I'm gonna make it.
So I'm already here. So I don't want to go home because I'm already in this situation, and I know what I want. So I'm just praying that, Lord, get me out of this. And so oftentimes we're in those situations, the saints would be like, oh, you should have fled. You should have left. You should have, the Bible, God will give you a way of escape. And oftentimes
there is a way of escape, but that don't mean I'm going to leave.
Right. Oftentimes I don't want to escape. That's the truth of it all. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think, although I think the church has, I'm never going to be the person who's going to openly, and you would probably do the same with. I'm not ever going to openly sit there and say that the church was wrong. I would just say that some of the methods. I'm gonna say they had good intentions. Let me say that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think they came from a good place, but I don't think sometimes they were educated enough to kind of other than just either trying to put the fear of the Lord in us, or just say because the Bible said. And oftentimes the Bible said it's cool, but if you give me some like other real life reasons why it's not good for me or I should wait, then maybe I would wait.
Right, exactly. And I think that's the better conversation, right? The ways in which I should wait, some more practical reasons. Like give me Bible, absolutely, but also give me real practical reasons on why I should wait. And then be realistic with me as well. Just like you said, prepare me and also give me scenario instead of saying you should have fled. Okay, I didn't flee. Now what happens if I'm in the situation? Right. You know what I'm saying? How do I avoid going there? So maybe it's I was like, just like we referenced the Chance song, maybe I made it tonight, but next time I won't be that strong. So now the conversation is, all right, Josh, you got out, you didn't do it. So let's think through the next date. Do you walk her in? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, and so that's just when you begin to teach discipline,
Mm-hmm.
and you begin to teach strategies, and you start knowing your weaknesses and what turns you on. Like there was a time where I was dealing with this young lady in college, and we were trying our best not to, but then we gave in one particular time because like we kept playing this certain type of music, and I knew that music, it was really more, it was her, but she got handsy. And I was like, all right, if we want to chill, then we can't listen. Like, I'm good listening to the music and like just whatever, but you're not. This is literally doing some David type stuff for you. It's making you making your emotions and stuff go. But, and I'm not, and if you start doing something to me, I'm not necessarily going to deny you the privilege of having me. So, but no, on a serious note though, like we were able to identify that. And when we did kind of snap out of it all, it was like, all right, cool. This is what we're not going to play.
Right.
And this is what we're not going to listen to when we're alone and things like that. So I think like building barriers and being in a relationship and understanding and teaching what boundaries are.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
Because some people, you may not know what your boundaries are. So you may need to just begin to set just random ones until you're able to identify your level of strength, your level of discipline, because it's different for every single person. So I think as far as the church is concerned, we have to do a better job of doing a holistic lesson of the beauty of what sex is, the consequence. When I say consequences, I don't always mean like negative. I mean just the results
right.
The consequences or results of having sex. And then the ways in which purity or abstinence should be celebrated, and the ways that we can be successful in their pursuit. Even if you're not a virgin, like there are ways that you can, recommit and be like, you know what, I'm chill until A, B, and C, right? And I think if we just approach it realistically, and then don't demonize it. I think that's the thing too. Don't demonize sex, but just talk about. Like, really talk about, if we're going to say no fornication, let's talk about fornication. Right. Let's not talk about sex itself. And I think that's where they mess up. Right. We demonize sex, right? But when we technically should be talking against fornication. Right. And I think that's the difference that the church didn't know how to, like you said, they were well-intended. But they didn't know the difference between the two.
Right. And what's interesting is that, as we are in church, and the reason why they have it's kind of, they're up against the fight, because not only are we getting this information at Bible study and YPWW and all that kind of stuff for those that, don't know. That's like youth. YPWW. That's like youth, Bible study or whatever. We on the flip side, we are listening to music. We got our favorite TV shows. We watching movies, and all of those medium. Right. Yep, mediums are giving us a different story about sex. They're showing us what romance and what love is and all that kind of stuff, So so media is giving us so much stuff, that we're digesting, and it's like, they're giving me a bigger or broader a view of what sex is, to where the church seems like they can't really mess with it. So within that, when it comes to media, like what was it? What effect did it have on you?
So, I guess...
And when I say media, like mainstream, not like pornography.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I get what you're saying. So, I guess the effect it had on me was that... Okay, so, I understand the privilege that I rest in being raised in a two-parent household. Okay. And while I was, like... not at all interested in my parents' sex life, I did know that my parents were affectionate. Like we were, I think my entire family's love language, and it's probably just how we were raised, was quality time. So we would legit sit, like on a Friday night, we would get either Crumpy's wings or X-Line's pizza. Yes, wings. That was just our thing, either wings or pizza, right? Mainly Crumpy's because they had whole wings. That's a whole nother discussion. All right. But we would get one of those takeout places, and we would literally sit, and my mama would splurge and get like a pay-per-view movie, or we kept like HBO or something, or like we also had a stack full of VHSs. Shout out to the old people who watch VHS.
Right, Blockbuster night.
And we had a floor model TV. Oh. We kept that thing for years. My mom was like, "It worked. We're watching it." But anyway, we would gather around that thing in the den and just laugh and talk. And you know how kind of like watching really great television is kind of like cult-ish. I ain't gonna say cultish, but it's like cult culture.
Yeah.
Everybody. So we were like that, like Soul Food the series.
Okay.
Oh, I know I shouldn't watch this stuff, but
They
watched
had
it.
like sex scenes.
Yeah, but my mama let us watch it. But again, when those things happen, we would cover our eyes. Go get me some juice.
I'm peeking.
Or I just got smart enough in certain moments, like, you know what, I'm just gonna go use the bathroom because I know you want me to get out,
right.
and I'll come on back. But anyway, we would gather as family to watch that or watch. My mama loved New York Undercover.
Oh, Malik Yoga.
And yeah, you know what I'm saying. But it was like, but we found, and I think that's why I'm such a big TV person now, because we found camaraderie and love. I say all that to say, the kids could be on the floor, on the couch, whatever. My mom will be sitting with her legs, across my dad. Or my dad would like lean into her shoulders and things like that, So they were always very affectionate. And my dad does what I do. He would walk up behind my mom and slap her butt while she cooking.
Hey.
And and even as the quote unquote evangelist, she didn't say stop that in front of the children. Like she looked back and she kept cooking. You know what I'm saying? So I saw the ways that my parents were affectionate. So I don't think and again, I have no desire to know anything about their sex life, but I also not dumb. I know how babies got here, right? I got two sisters. So I know what was going on, and I saw their level of affection and love for each other. So while I was very oblivious to what they did personally and want to remain that way until death, the media didn't really affect me so much because I knew what I believe a healthy relationship that again they got kids, right? So a healthy relationship that included sex, what it looks like. So for me, if somebody's somewhere crying, I'm like, that's just the effects of whatever dating or singleness looks like, because I know what compatibility and whatever. So and I'm not gonna lie, like as a teen, some of it did influence me because like I said, with me and my high school sweetheart, even when I was in college, some of the ways I would approach or some of my expectations about sex or date nights and things like that were sometimes fueled by the media.
Right.
Not so much, and sometimes music too. Like you hear certain songs and I want to flip you and blah, 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 blah. And then in the moment, like, she kind of heavy. I don't know if I can flip, So, it's like, so I do think even if it's subconsciously, it does weigh down on our psyche. And if you don't get the kiss at the front door, does that mean that your opening, to engage is over, when it may not be? Like, it's just like she just kiss you because she don't want to kiss you outside. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think there are so many like myths in media and music, and not necessarily myths, but it's not. They don't give you what they give you. They present it as a formula, but it's not.
It's not at all.
This isn't Pythagorean theorem. It doesn't apply to everything. You know what I'm saying? And your experience may be 30 times different. I think we can find, like we talk about The Wood, when I forget that character, but him and Alicia, when they finally had sex and they both lost their virginity.
Is it Mike?
No, Mike was the Mike was the tall one.
Slim was the tall one.
Slim was the tall one. Mike was the one that got married.
It's okay.
Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Him and Alicia.
Okay.
The Omar Epps character.
Okay.
Omar Epps character. When they had sex the first time, I think there are like that movie scene. I think that we can relate to it because it was super fast. They didn't know what they were doing.
Didn't know what
I think for most young men, no matter how old you are, if it's your first time, you ain't finna be in there 30, 45 minutes. Or nothing. Like, you can tell that lie to somebody else.
Right.
But and both of them was like, oh. That's it?
So
I think there's some reality, right, in what we see, some ways in which we can relate. Like J. Cole has a song that kind of describes his first time.
Oh, yeah. Wet Dreams.
Wet Dreams, yes.
Yep.
And listening to it, I'm like, although I wasn't in high school, but like kind of the way it played out, like having the conversations and talking about this, and I could be like, all of that is kind of very similar to most people's first time experience. So to sum it up, I really think that while media for me didn't necessarily influence what sex was, I do think we find familiarity and we oftentimes build some level of expectation on what we see and what we hear.
Right. And I can agree with that, because I think to me, different household, single parent household, and my mom was kind of intentional about, like, she was adamant about not having dudes in the house. So she was adamant about shielding us from like relationships. So she may have been doing it, she said she wasn't, but she may have, I don't know. But I never really seen, that stuff. So some of the stuff I kind of grew up on TV. I didn't really. I don't think I ever got the like the nasty part of it, like the tip drill music video type stuff, or the
I ain't XX rated.
I never thought like it about to that level, but kind of like the I think I'm kind of like that person now, like that that romance connection, that type stuff, like, Love and Basketball type stuff. That's how that happens. And if you say this and you say that, and this is what's going to happen. And, that expectation of, if I'm just the nice guy or I'm do this and I, care, then this is what the outcome will be. But oftentimes, I think we find out that, again, like you said, the reality is nothing. Well, what the expectation that they give us doesn't really match the reality. Mm-hmm. I do like they kind of bring it back to the wood is how media kind of, I think in that moment when Alicia and Omar's character, or the younger character, when they did have sex for the first time and they were like, oh, is that it? I think they probably have their expectations off of schoolyard conversation like we talked about earlier, or off of media. So they was thinking like, oh, this was gonna be, because some songs they be talking about like, oh, we having sex all night long, and I be
sidebar, his name was Mike.
It was
so
Mike.
It was Mike Slim and Ron.
Mike Slim. Okay, Ron.
And Mike was Omar Epps.
Okay, but in music, oftentimes they're like, oh, we having sex. What is it? Color Me Bad has a song, I want to sex you up. Mm-hmm. We gonna be sexing into the morning and all that kind of stuff. So in your mind, you're thinking like, oh, so, when I do have sex, it's going to be a long experience. But then, like, in that movie, in that moment, you're like, oh, that's what that was. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
Yes, I do think there is a difference between expectation and reality. So what would you say the difference you saw based off of your expectations and then what the reality is?
I think the differences was, like, it wasn't. So ideally, like, again, freshman year, without giving too many details, I won't say any names. Like, I lost my virginity in the dorm. Mm-hmm. So I think the expectation was to be, first of all, I thought it would have happened younger.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. But even when it did happen, I thought it would be like after a romantic. Even like I am a bit of a romantic, but I'm also a realist,
right?
Especially being married. When you get married, like, we probably talk about that. What marriage sex is like. Sometimes you ain't got time for flowers.
You ain't got time for
kind of stuff. But anyway, I did think it would. Not that I wanted my first time to be special, but I did have this expectation of it'll probably be after some date. Probably some committed. I did not think it'll be like a one-off, because I lost my virginity to a girl I did not date. I was not dating. We was just kind of talking.
Okay. All right.
And we actually went on like, one date, and then literally after that first date, that's what it was.
Tied out. Okay.
So I thought it would be like we would be in a relationship, and it would be with somebody that I loved, and like all these kind of different expectations of what it would be. And the reality of it is that we were horny freshmen. I think we were feeling each other because we saw each other on the yard. We went out on like one little date, and we went, and Morehouse has this thing. Morehouse and Spelman has this thing where you don't get visitation as a freshman until like so I can't tell you how many weeks, but so many weeks. Mm-hmm. And this was after visitation, and I didn't have a roommate freshman year.
Okay, so
she was able to come up, and it wasn't no one thing led to another. When she came up there, I think we both knew what was up. And I had already been to the infirmary and had,
was ready.
My contraceptives in the room and things like that. And it just happened. I walked her back to her dorm. We talked a little bit. We never officially dated. Mm-hmm. I think we engaged, had sex maybe 2 or 3 more times.
Okay.
And we were just cool up until we graduated. And that was just it. So I think the expectation was to either be in this relationship or I think the flip side of that too was maybe I don't be in a relationship, but maybe I'm in this string of just like sexual partners.
Right.
Because I had friends as teenagers, that's what they did, right? Mm-hmm. They by the time they were 18, they probably had 18 partners.
Getting it. Mm-hmm.
They were just getting it in. I was thought maybe I always was also the good guy. So I kind of knew that wouldn't be my path. So the fact that I wasn't in a committed relationship, wasn't even in a relationship with the girl that I lost my virginity to or anything like that. We just kind of were what we were for each other, literally for about a month and a half, and that was it. So I think that was very different. And the fact, like I said, it wasn't what the movie showed. It
Right.
wasn't. Well, it even wasn't what the wood showed, because even like after we had our initial little moment, like, we was like, all right, cool, that's it, because she wasn't a virgin, and she's like,
Okay.
all right, now that you got that out the way,
Just run it back.
let me run it back. And so I think that's the other thing too. I thought it would be both of us as virgins, where like I was in this position to where, sorry, mom, where she was like, she taught me because I didn't know, right? So I think that was like, and I think that's the other thing, like too, like we kind of put sex in a space where the man leads and he knows everything and he's the one that's supposed to be leading and blah 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 blah, when actually, if we're gonna be honest, it's really easy for men to be pleased.
Easy.
I do think that there are ways where we can be kind of like bored with it or whatever, but
Right.
for the most part, if we're attracted to you and we want it, we gonna get what needs to happen from us is gonna happen. But
Right.
with women, it has to be emotional connection. There are sometimes, ways that you need to reach that spot for them, like all these
Right.
different type of things. So she got into the drivers, and I think that was different too. Like, I wasn't expecting to be a student.
Right.
I just wasn't expecting it. But what were some of those things for you?
I would actually say it's kind of similar. It's kind of parallel. I will say this.
Okay.
So I know earlier I talked about as far as my late blooming was due to like the fear of God, but I was also like definitely shy of like girls. I don't know what it was. I was just like super shy. So shouts to all the people who I curved back in the day. I was like extremely shy, and I was just low key. I was just afraid. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't. It was the insecurities, to be honest, the insecurities of the conversations in the locker room. You hear other people talking about like, I'm doing X, Y, Z, blah, 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 and this and that. And then I'm thinking like, I'm afraid of that. You know what I'm saying? I just, I didn't have the confidence in that. So same thing when I did have sex for the first time, it was a person who, I would say, was in control. You know what I'm saying? Like I was learning in that moment, and it wasn't even like a romantic situation. It wasn't like, dinner, we walk in the park holding hands, I'll drop you off at the house. We were just at the house, bored on Martin Luther King Day one year, off work, ain't doing nothing, just bored. And it's like, want to have sex? You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even like on some like romantic type stuff. And I like romance, but it was just like we ain't doing nothing, let's just have sex. We ain't doing nothing, let's do each other. And it was just like that. And it was like I was just enjoying the ride. Literally just enjoying the ride. And then in my mind I was thinking like, oh, okay, that's it. And then here's the thing, here's the kicker. I was not prepared. So we talked about being prepared. I was not prepared.
Okay.
I was not prepared. So think about that, not being prepared, and then not knowing,
What the heck you were doing?
what the heck I was doing. So mind you, pull-out game does not exist. Pull-out game does not exist. So I'm just, doing said business, going forth. And then just, no control, just splat. And then the young lady goes, did you I'm gonna say it. I mean the better term, did you ejaculate? I said, I don't even know. I think so. So we sitting there trying to wipe stuff out of the vagina. and that's when so think about this. I'm thinking, the worst scenario is I ejaculated in this girl. She's pregnant, and I'm going to hell.
I'm just sad.
I'm just done.
I am depressed.
Listen, I was on the altar that Sunday. Better God. And mind you, it was
Me too.
Monday.
I went straight to that purple carpet and got my life together.
It was Monday. I had to wait a whole week to get into the sanctuary, to get into the house of the Lord.
Something about church, though. We repenting at home don't count.
It don't mean anything. It ain't the same
You gotta
thing.
go to the altar.
I lay before the Lord.
But no, that's so funny. That's so funny because, like I said, like with you, so y'all was bored and it just kind of happened. But with me, like there was no pre-discussion. Like we met doing like all the little freshman stuff, and then And we exchanged numbers, and we just decided to, like, I low-key think for both of us, we knew what was going to happen. The inevitable ended up happening. And the little date we went on, the little dinner we went to, via, shout out to Marta, because wasn't no Uber and Lyft back then. The little date that we went on, I really feel like it was a formality.
Okay.
Because I think I had in my mind that because when I went on the date, like when I found out we were going to have the date is when me and my friend had the whole condom.
Okay.
That's how that thing. So in my mind, I was ready, like, because like the way we would flirt and talk kind of insinuated. Now I am a gentleman, so I wasn't gonna do nothing until it was very clear that she wanted to consent.
Gotta have consent.
And all these other kind of things. But I was also in a space where I feel like this is gonna happen. So let me be prepared in case it does. Now I wasn't whack and kept it in my wallet. It was in my room.
Okay.
Which is why I suggested you come to my room. But also I didn't have a roommate. So I think that's another like expectation, like, or difference where, like you said, maybe I wanted the romance, but I also was in my mind, I wanted sex. Like, I wanted it. And she was cute. She was all these kind of things, and I felt like she wanted me too.
And so, that's the thing. We might either talk about that. Mutual desire. Mutual desire. Is
so when we got to that room, it wasn't no just nightcap, let's watch TV. It was like, you know why you here. And although I let her make the first move. Like, but I think both of us in our mind kind of knew what was up. And then that ended up happening. But shifting gears just a little bit, talking about the expectation versus reality.
Okay.
How has that played into like marriage sex?
Okay, so that's perfect, right? Okay, so so church, go back to church, right?
Okay.
So church kind of tells you like once you get married, you can have sex whenever you want. So you
after
thinking
they told us for 30 years that
30 years.
It's the devil. Now all of a sudden the floodgates open.
Right. You think it's gonna be just sex all the time because you're still within covenant or it's free sex, like freedom, you know what I'm saying? And that is not the case. I think one, like we said earlier, I had to, like, me and my spouse, we had to deprogram.
Yeah.
From all the talk about like, oh, sex is bad, sex is bad, sex is bad. So even when you're having sex while you're married, it's like kind of you having to, after you ejaculate or, climax or whatever, you're still like, oh, but it still feels bad, even though it's not bad. But so I think one of the main thing was frequency. Frequency was definitely a thing that I thought for sure that was going to be like,
I'm going to get it every night. I got in-house vag.
Every night. We ain't doing nothing. Like, sex, more, that part, all of it. Like, every night we having sex. And if not every night, at least 5 out of 7 days, like, what, not the reality. So I tell you, say frequency was definitely the thing I expected, which clearly is not the reality. What about you?
So I think for us it was different because Josh is a year older than our marriage. So
okay,
that tells you a story about how we were getting down. But I will say, after Josh, we actually committed to celibacy. Okay. So we didn't have sex again until our marriage night. And everybody just told, I think y'all told us too, y'all gonna be too tired. I was like, not Josh Rogers. I found some energy. And
mustered up some strength.
I mustered up. And I think for her too, because we had sex with each other. Right. And we waited a year to re-engage, and it took a lot of discipline. And we had like peer pressure, people like, y'all already got a baby and blah, blah, blah. What difference does it make? But it was just for us, it was a recommitment. Right. To our faith, to what we believed in, and just, wanting to experience, as the Bible say, knowing each other, kind of new again, right? So we waited. And I think for us, what shifted was the fact that it wasn't like when we were having sex before we got married and before we had a baby and all that different kind of stuff. It was the rush of being young teenagers or, 20-year-olds. And just we didn't live together. We both lived off campus, but we were still college students. So I wasn't just like, contrary to popular belief, I wasn't just sitting there at your house all night. Like I was studying. I had 18-hour credit loads because I was done freshman and sophomore year. So I had to make up for that junior and senior year. So I had 18 hours. So I was like studying and all different kinds. And we hung out, but I just wasn't. And then Asha also lived with her brother when she first moved off campus. So that was a thing too. But but still, when we found time to do it, we did it. So I think again, I would say frequency, but I would say the difference was that we had a baby. When we first got married, Ashley was working an internship and a full-time master's student. I was working. So I think it created this barrier where we had to learn what intentionality really meant. And we had to figure out what worked for us and our schedule and all these different types of things. So I think that's true too. I think the myth is, I do think most couples, married couples, especially newlyweds, go through a period where it is relatively frequent. Every day, every other day, you know, whatever it is. And I think if you're trying to conceive, it gets super frequent because you just want to, you know, you're trying to get pregnant. I mean, we were trying to, like, while Josh was, I would never call him an accident, unplanned, Jaden was planned. Like, I think we're one of the few black families that actually sat down and said, let's have a baby. So when we decided and she got off the pill, like, we was going at it. Like, when we get ready to leave the house before a date, just any free moments, all we needed was a quick 5 minutes. We was just trying to, you know, get it done. Right. And honestly, that sex is tiring. It is exhausting because you're not doing it for pleasure. You're literally doing it. So I want to get as many of these soldiers up in you. I want to shoot that club up as many times as I can, just so that I can make sure a baby comes. You ovulate, let's go. You know, that type of thing. So that's not fun. But
it's like pressure pack too.
Right. But to the frequency standpoint, I think you experience that during waves in marriage. I think you experience it when you're trying to conceive, and then also very likely when you're when you're a newlywed, because it's kind of, you know, you got all those new feels. I think as you mature, you know, life changes, you become parents, you know, y'all both working 9 to 5, so there are times where you're just like, you may be wanting it but you're tired, right? And you know, like, and it's just real. And I don't think it's a discredit to anyone, but you have to become, I think, just being more intentional about it. So not necessarily, I've heard therapists and stuff say maybe you need to put it on the calendar. I personally don't like that. I'm not talking against anyone who does.
We tried that.
It works for you. It works for you. Yeah, me and Ashley tried it one time too, and it just felt weird. It felt obligatory and not, you know, something we wanted to do. It wasn't no spontaneity in it. But I will say you do have to be much more intentional. So like for me and Asha, you know, she's a private person, so I won't go too deep. But what I will say is that I'm a night owl, she's an early bird. So there were moments I had to find out, all right, Josh, if this is gonna happen, you need to go to bed earlier. Or you need to at least go to upstairs earlier, you know, things like that. Or, you know, same thing for her. Like if I wanted, all right, cool. Like tonight we're recording a podcast, you know, if I really want it, I'm gonna stay awake. You know, things like, so it was just like certain types of things. And I would see, and like Asha put in the effort. She might go get a Red Bull, you know, I'm gonna stay awake, you know, whatever it is. You know, so it's right. So it's one of those things where you have to be intentional without making it feel forced, but also definitely showing your spouse that you care and that, you know what I'm saying, you want it. Because I feel like with men, we can talk about this too, we want to be wanted too.
Oh yeah, it's a thing. I think being wanted is the turn on. Like, you know, me knowing that you want it is like, oh, I'm about to put it down. And it's actually like more pressure when it feels like you're just the only one who wants it. You know what I'm saying? But kind of I'm gonna go back, and I'm gonna come back to this though. When you kind of mentioned the expectation, in marriage counseling, I remember our marriage counselor, which I recommend to anybody that wants to get married, go through marriage counseling. They asked the question to me, like, oh, Brian, what are you gonna do if she wants it and you don't want it? Yeah. And I was like, I don't ever foresee a time when it's gonna be a situation where, like, you know, she wants it and I'm not gonna want it. And to your point, what you were saying as far as the fact of like being intentional and stuff like that, or really not understanding what the expectations are. Like, there's some times when I'm really we both work 9 to 5s and I may want it, but do I really want to put in the work, or is it really, you know, it sounds bad, is it really worth going for it? Sometimes we're really just tired, and then you consider, like, now you have kids, you really don't just always feel like just getting it in, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so there are times where I'll be thinking, like, you know, I want it, but I'm too tired. And that was another thing I never expected, for me to turn down sex or be like, I'm gonna fake sleep because I really don't want to I don't really want to.
Right, and I think it's a thing too, right? You don't like the men are expected to be horn dogs, and
Yeah.
to be like all. And I think to a certain extent, I am always ready.
Right.
To a certain extent, but then, like you said, you know, for a while, like for 3 years of my life, most recently, I was a full-time graduate student, a full-time employee, balancing being an attentive husband and an emotionally available father, soccer dad, like all these type of position in my church, all these types of things, and there were just some nights that, bro, I'm just like, I ain't got it. And if I did give you anything, it's gonna be sloppy pink. Like, I just don't have it. And I think again, that's an expectation too as a man.
Oh yeah.
You know, society says you should. What you want? Like, no, it's not that I didn't want it, bro. I ain't got it in me.
Right.
I just ain't got it in me. I ain't got it. I ain't got it. And maybe if we had some Blue Chew, shout out to Blue Chew. If you want to sponsor the pod, we are open. To that level of sponsorship. But no, like, you know what I'm saying? And maybe like, but again, going back to intentionality, there were some nights I was tired, but I knew Ash and I needed like sexual intimacy.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? I don't care how tired I am. Let me go get a Red Bull. Let me take some pre-workout. Let me figure out something so that I can make sure that we're not missing each other. Because I think much as sex is not the end all be all of a marriage, it is a super important part. Like that level of connectivity and intimacy is super important. And if you allow life to get you so busy that you miss it, I think that's where kind of pointless arguments start to happen.
Oh yeah.
You find yourself frustrated and you're just like, what is wrong? You're like, dang, we horny.
We
need some. You know what I'm saying? And it's just real. So I think that's the kind of stuff, as our brother Chris would say, that's stuff they don't tell you in marriage counseling. And it's true.
Right.
They don't really go into, now some marriage counselors may have been, but mine, they didn't go into that level. Now we had marriage counselors that was afraid to say the word sex in front of us. Which was weird. I'm like, y'all do know we already got a baby, right? So we're not like, this isn't
right.
Like you're not, you know what I'm saying? This isn't taboo for us. But yeah, I think that is something, as far as expectations and reality is concerned, that the frequency of it, men wanting to be wanted, wanting to, like, I want you to say that you want it.
Oh yeah.
I want you to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you may not be as descriptive as Cardi and Megan, but I want you to be able to say what you want, how you want. Because for me, I'm be like, bet, got you. You know what I'm saying? Like, those kind of things are important. And I also think tapering your expectations based on life. So when you add kids and you add, because like, even think about it, you're in your mid 30s, I'm in my early 30s, but even when you're in your 20s and 30s, a lot of time, like Lauren right now, she's in a doctoral program, you know what I'm saying? So there are, and I say that to say, there are different levels of pursuits for her career that she's interested in. The same, I mean, I just finished a master's program going on 2 years now. So like there are certain levels of things that I want. And even if you're not in school, you're probably working overtime, doing certain things to be developed professionally and stuff like that. And that takes time and energy.
Oh, it's draining.
And you want to be able to grow your career and make more money, but that also comes with, like you said, the draining of energy and the draining of whatever. So you have to be able to be flexible, you have to be realistic, and you have to necessarily have really strong intentions about keeping it consistent, even when it can easily become inconsistent.
Oh yeah. And you said a few things as far as your point, as far as be emotional connection, because there are times where you, like, y'all get into arguments over random stuff and you realize, oh, we ain't had sex like in 2 weeks. That's the problem. You know what I'm saying? And even though, you know, it will bring us, even though what's funny is, like, we're close. We won't be like distant in terms of like spending time together, going out, stuff like that. But as you know, when it comes to life, now we have a child as well. That's a whole another thing as far as, you know, disconnected, and she want to sleep in the bed with us. So, you know, find those times where we can connect. Right. So, there are moments where we're just like, you know, again, my wife is super private, where it's like, we need to connect, and we need to connect like now. You know what I'm saying? So even within that, but another thing as far as expectation and reality is like length, like time. Like, you can't have the full experience most of the time. It's like, especially with kids, you got to get this thing in where you can get it.
Yeah, you got to get it. And I think the older they get, it gets easier because they go to sleep and they're asleep. And they're going to be asleep through the night. But for the most part, right, if you got like y'all got an almost 1-year-old. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You could have put her down, but literally in 30, 40 minutes, she could, you know, need her diaper change. She could, like, a myriad of things could happen. So you got to be like, all right, she's asleep. we got at least 30 minutes,
Right.
maybe 7 hours. Let's maximize it, right? So like
Right.
you said, I ain't got time to be lighting candles and setting music. It's like let's do this.
No
And
foreplay.
then
We
there
just
are
got to get this thing in.
Right, but there are times to where you do, make it a full blown,
Oh,
and that
yeah.
don't mean that you cheat your spouse of
Nah, never.
like everything that you have to give. Like you give what you gonna give.
Give
But,
all
you know what I'm
of it.
saying? But it does mean that listen, we can't do 20 minutes of foreplay. Like it's just
We'll knock it down a couple minutes.
Yeah, I got a couple of little tricks and touches I got, and we going straight insertion at this point. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that's another thing too. It's not, it ain't gonna always be like you said, the full blown dinner and candles and bath and
flowers and roses.
No, I need you to be moist now. I'm about to put the baby to bed, and when I come upstairs, just take it off. And by the time I come in the room, let's just go. You know what I'm saying? Because
Let's go for it.
Yeah, because and there are moments where that's just real, and I don't think that that's like not romantic or not sincere. It's just the nature of where your relationship is, specifically with kids. Because you don't want to get caught. You don't want to have a crying baby because that's gonna ruin the mood and all that different kind of stuff. You about to say something?
No, I was about to say, because it seemed like Brooklyn, like our daughter, as soon as I touch her mama, she wake up. It's like she knows.
Kids are the best cock blockers.
The cock blocking.
They got a PhD in it.
Like it's like as soon as I touch her mama, she whining. I'm like, so even now, like when she's in her crib, like we try not to even like cuddle because we as soon as we start cuddling, she want to get to whining, and it's like, girl. But yeah, that's been our thing recently as far as being a new parents trying to navigate having sex. Which is important, which is important, and my wife being in a doctoral program, and me being now thinking about running a pandemic, so I am in the house all day, working all day, running around my child all day. So me and my wife both most of the time are like drained, then getting Brooklyn into bed by 8:30, and she want to try to stay up all hours of the night, and then by that time we in the bed, and we really don't have anything in us to give. So that's something I definitely would say that we've had to deal with recently as far as navigating that.
No, I feel you, and you brought up a good point, and it kind of leads us to how we can kind of close this out on a on a more interesting note. Is you have a daughter?
Yep.
I have two sons, and I know that we're both going to probably have some form of the talk with them.
Yep.
So here's the thing: one, how do you plan on having the talk? And then two, specifically as a girl dad, what is and we can explain it a little bit, but what is your approach to the whole versus hero concept when it comes to men and women in sex?
Okay. All right. So we are going to have, and this is what I kind of want. My daughter's going to turn 1 in like 11 days. So we have a while before we have this conversation. Thank God. So let the Lord delay. And the thing, I'm not saying that because like I'm afraid of having the conversation. It's just the fact of like I know things may within like 10 years, 11 years, things are probably bound to change. You know what I'm saying? And also, I want to say thank God to the fact that I think that feminism or women being more empowered or empowering when it comes to sex is going to be greater. Right. So I think that the awareness of women being on the forefront, I think by then, hopefully by the time she's 11, we have a woman president. So I think the conversation is going to be a little bit different, even though we're always empowering to her. I think I'm going to have a conversation, but the conversation I want to have comes from the place of, and me and my wife actually talked about this because we listened to the song WAP, and we want my daughter to understand that sex, like she's not having sex for the sole purpose of pleasing somebody else. Like sex is for you. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're having sex with someone and they're not fulfilling your needs sexually, that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? You're not there to just lay down and let some dude just ejaculate inside you. That's not your purpose.
That's not it at all.
Like that's not your purpose. Your purpose, when it comes to sex is important. It's not being stupid. Of course, I'm going back. the goal is, of course, marriage, only because, hopefully by that time she's mature, has gotten a couple degrees, she's well established in her career, and she's done some stuff. But, of course, being wise, she may have sex earlier. But the main thing would be being mature enough to understand the feelings that come along with sex. And then owning your sexuality.
Yeah.
Like, it's yours. Like, no person can take it or give it away. Like, your sexuality is your sexuality. Own it. If you want something, you can say that you want it. If you don't want something, you better say you don't want it. You know what I'm saying? So, even the idea of consent, like, don't let these jokers think that, that they run a game on you. Like, if you want to do it, you want to do it. Like, so the biggest picture would be is to own your sexuality, control your sexuality, and know that sex is for your pleasure. Sex is for your pleasure. But they're going to get pleased regardless. But sex is for your pleasure, and don't be in a situation where you feel like you are doing everything to please them, and not pleasing yourself. And then even with the double standard, as far as the hero versus hoe situation is, of course, I don't want my daughter out here just getting it. You know what I'm saying? That's not what I want. But I would have the same conversation with my son. But I don't want, I know that the world, the society that we live in has that double standard. So when Meg and Cardi were talking about and being explicit in what they want, which they should be saying, and it's in women should do what they should say what they want. I would tell my daughter, like, if you own your sexuality and you decided in maturity, to engage with different partners, that does not make you a hoe. And a boy who is, again, doing the same thing that you're doing does not make him a hero. So that's kind of my thing. That's my takeaway in that situation as far as being a dad of a girl. And people will always be like, oh, well, your mindset changes when you become a dad of a girl. It changed, but it didn't change to the fact of thinking that, like, I would be against a woman saying what she wants because I'm a father of a girl. Like, no, like, own your sexuality. It's yours. It's your body. Do what you want to do with it, but make sure you're doing what you want to do with your body.
And you know what? I agree with that. And I'll just start off and say, real quickly that my conversations, especially with Josh, are coming in a lot sooner than yours. He's 9, and he's already started to indicate some way, and I'm respecting his little privacy too, but indicate some ways in which he's growing up. Mm-hmm. And he's starting to think through different concepts differently. And if he sees a kissing scene where, in the past it could have just been, ew, they kissing. Now it's just like he's kind of just stopping and looking. I'm like, okay. So that conversation is coming up, but I'm definitely going to have it. I'm not going to do what my dad did and put computers into it or anything like that. I'm not going to, come at him and be like, blah, 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 be real dogmatic. But I do want to have a mature conversation, like you said, and I'm going to explain the beauty in waiting because of the maturity. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's the best way.
Right.
And also, like, he's going to have Christian values, so he'll understand, the necessity of waiting in parallel with our faith and our beliefs, right? So he'll have that, but I'm also going to be realistic in the sense is that these are some of the other reasons why I think you should wait, and then be real about what sex is and how, like Josh, I'm not telling you to wait because it's terrible. It's going to feel great. It's going to feel good, but so I want to be very real and talk about the beauty of it, and how he needs to respect women, and how he needs to have full consent. So no means no, but yes also means yes, and you need to be very clear about what she wants, what she does not want, if she's not ready, like all these different type of things, whatever her boundaries are, and your boundaries. And that's the other thing. I'm going to teach my son about boundaries within themselves too. Like, you don't have to get caught up in the fact that just because you're a boy or a man that you can allow or be game for anything. Because if you don't want to be touched a certain way, if you don't want to be touched in a certain area, right? Shout out to Tank, like, what I'm saying, men are getting into butt stuff,
right?
And if you just like, I ain't into that, then you can say, even if she won't be like, I'm just not, I don't want to do that, I'm not into that, right? And not having to feel ashamed or emasculated because you decide to turn down specific things, right? So I think that's a conversation that I want to have, very open, for them to also own their sexuality and respect the ownership of a woman's sexuality. So if you see a woman who's like, shout out to Maxine Shaw, you know what I'm saying, from Living Single, who is very embraces who she
Oh,
is
yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. Like, you respect that.
Definitely.
And she's not a hoe. She just wants what she wants.
Right. That's
And
okay.
She,
You should
wants it with who she
express that.
wants it with, right? And you should be okay with that. So that's on one end. The whole hero versus whole thing. I love that I got to get your opinion as a girl dad, because I feel like, even though I don't have a daughter, I feel like so many times most men's mindset changes because we grow up in this patriarchal society that says we have ownership of our daughters' vaginas.
No TI.
And all of a sudden we forget about all of the ways we were chasing women, doing that other type of thing. And even if you have sons, encouraging your sons to do reckless stuff, but then want to put this lock and key on your daughter, and then be even more reckless to say, well, that's their daughter, that ain't my problem.
Nah.
But it is super contradictory and, like, just for me infuriating that you can be so dogmatic and want to maintain the purity of your daughter, but you have zero cares about how reckless your sons can be with someone else's daughter. And I think we have to get to the place of maturity where we can't be that way. Like you said, I don't necessarily just want my daughter out here just giving it up to any and everybody, and blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, if she I should be secure enough as a father to know that if she has sex, it's because she made a decision. Whether I thought she was ready or not, I know that there was really no game. This little boy may have thought he was running game,
my daughter.
but at the end of the day, she decided this is something that I want to. Going back to the wood, right? They kept trying to pressure them girls, and if you saw in the
was great.
in the 90s, those girls all said no.
Nope.
They all said no, except for Alicia and Mike, and they still mutually decided, all right. And they weren't even dating. That was the end. They were just really good friends, and they decided. But the other guys, even with Mike with his girlfriend, like, they were doing other stuff, and she was like, you know, I ain't going that far. Like, she had limits on what she wanted to do, and they was giving their best game, showing it to them. I mean, all different kind of stuff.
Kind of put the tip in, all that kind of stuff.
I brought that up to say that, yeah, us men, we have games and we push limits and things, or we try to pressure or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you have a young man who does ultimately respect women, when she says no, it's like, I'm not going there, like, it's not going to happen. So if your daughter, that's the other thing, you can't be mad at the little boy. If your daughter wanted to lay down or get on top or whatever she decides to do, she decided. If she was not raped, she decided.
Yeah, you made the intelligent
and that is
consent.
that and that, right? Yeah. Right. You need to have a conversation with her. Don't go chasing him, because I dare one of you all to pull a gun out on my son or threaten him with the gun. We both rolling up with my piece,
right?
Because what you will not do is try to, again, threaten my child because your daughter wanted to have sex with my son. And I think we have to begin to debunk and demystify whatever this level of almost slave ownership is that we try to have over our daughters. And, like, even on TV, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you don't need to get married till you're 35. Like, why are you so consumed with her sexual consumption as a father?
Right.
It's weird.
It is weird.
It doesn't come off as, you know what I'm saying, like when you found out you're having a girl and y'all post a picture on Instagram and be like, got the Glock ready. For what? For some imaginary penis that she ain't even found yet? Like, that is one of the weirdest flexes I've ever seen. And it's possibly because my dad was just not that guy. He wouldn't sit in the house trying to be intimidating to the young men who dated my sisters. He would, you know, give them a firm handshake, have conversations with them, but he wasn't trying to find out their family history and say, don't do whatever, like in what was it, Players Club, whatever you do to my daughter, I'm gonna do to you. Like, it wasn't none of that kind of, because I had a dad treat me like that. I met a girl, I remember it was summer break one time, and I picked her up, and he literally did not speak to me. And I looked at him, and because we weren't officially dating, we were actually just friends. This made it worse. I looked at that man and said, do you have a problem? And he was like, excuse me, son? I said, I spoke to you. You looked at me. I said, I spoke to you, and you looked at me as if I didn't exist. He was like, well, you take, where you taking my daughter? I said, well, first of all, me and your daughter are just friends, and we're going to get dinner. I said, but I understand what you're feeling, but regardless of that, sir, I feel like I've done nothing to gain disrespect from you. And I think that broke a barrier, and we had a conversation. But I said that to say, and that's the other thing, I didn't care about getting kicked out of his house, because I would have told that friend, like, hey, I'm not here for this.
Right.
Like, you're not finna disrespect me. Like, I'm being a gentleman because you are my friend. So I could have texted you and said I'm outside.
Right.
But because I was raised, a
Respectful.
certain kind of way. I'm a Southern guy. I parked my car. I went in. I shook your mom's hand. I shook your dad's hand. All the different kind of stuff. Just for, I'm talking about a for real friend, not like a friend I'm trying to smash. Legit a friend. Who we was just going to have dinner to catch up because we were both in school and we was catching up over the summer break. But anyway, yeah, man, I think it's always been a double standard. Like with, Cardi and Meg faced so much backlash.
So much.
But then you got Tank, you got Chris Brown, you got
Everybody.
pick a rapper.
Everybody.
Pick a rapper who can say anything about how they want to flip it, how wet they want. Chris Brown had a song called Wet the Bed. And we talking about WAP, which is pretty much about being wet, right?
Right.
So like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know why this is so new. I think it's because of the voices that's behind it. But this isn't new. This isn't anything that should have been surprising
At all.
Is it explicit? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not necessary that should have taken us off guard because, again, that old blues song.
Yes.
Reverend,
Ride it
that
till the
thing,
cows come home.
Ride till the cows come home, and she want to poop on his chest, like all kind of crazy stuff that woman was saying. So, and that was in the 30s and 40s. You know what I'm saying? So here we are years and years later. And then going back to Miss Tanqueray. Now, Lady Tanqueray was a lady. But she she said, and I believe her, she didn't do all the other kind of stuff, but she had stories about women she worked with that did crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I think none of these concepts are new. It's just we act like it's brand new. And now all of a sudden we want to protect our daughters. And I'm afraid if your daughter is so sensitive that she listens to WAP for the first time and busts wide open over her whole high school, you can't blame Cardi and me.
That's your fault, brother. That's
your fault because you didn't teach discipline. You didn't teach self-worth, or you didn't whatever you're trying to subscribe it to. If she's that influenced by WAP, then you need to go back and reconsider your parenting.
Oh yeah, because it's your fault. It's your fault. Absolutely. And if you're teaching your daughter, and again, to make the decisions that they want to make, then that's all you can do. That's all you can do.
You got to teach responsibility. We got to teach safety. But bro, we've been in the living room for a while.
We've been here talking.
We've been here talking, but I think it's a dope conversation.
Oh yeah, and it could be a longer conversation, but we can't go.
Oh, absolutely! I got so much more that I could say, especially about this whole hero thing. I get up in arms.
Yeah, it bothers me. It definitely bothers me.
We might have to bring on some women friends and maybe really have that conversation.
Oh yeah, definitely. About how they feel about
how they feel, yeah, and what that looks like. But let's go ahead and get into some Black men self-care, and then let's wrap up this episode.
Let's do it.
All right, so here we are in Black Man Self-Care. Brian, what you got going on this weekend, man?
Last weekend,
okay,
I was at the J Work.
You were.
I was there, and I got the work in. So
yeah, how'd you enjoy it?
I really enjoyed it. The instructor does a great job of pushing you, and that's a good workout. It's not difficult, but it definitely pushes you. So definitely you do a great job of doing that, putting that together. So yeah, I would recommend anybody, even anywhere. It's virtual. So if you West Coast, East Coast, Dirty South, whatever, you can get on and work out with us. Please do. But other than that, nothing. I can't think of anything I'm going to actually do intentionally that I need to do. I need to find something to do. But I think I might just hang out of the house and just relax. I don't have any yard work to do. I don't have anything to clean up. I don't have anything to fix at the house. So I may just lay in the bed and just chill. I think that's what I'm going to do. I need to do that.
Gotcha. Shout out to the J Work. So if you're going to do the J Work, this is your last week to do it. I am shutting it down. Yeah, this is it. Wow. I have another partnership that I'm doing where I'm still be doing virtual classes, but not on Saturdays. So I'm going to definitely enjoy and make this last ride out session one for the road. Okay. We you might be in some pain if you come to this one. we gonna work. But as far as self-care, I finally found, I think all the people who were building home gyms and stuff have either got everything they needed or they've returned to their gyms. So I found a squat rack at Walmart that I've been wanting.
Okay.
And anybody who works out knows squat rack is like when you get the squats and you're able to put it down. So I haven't been able to do a lot of like barbell weighted squats because I didn't have a rack to place it on because I'm not trying to kill myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't been able to do a lot of bench press with a barbell because the squat rack can also serve as the rack that you place it above you.
Mm-hmm.
So I got one. So I'll be putting that together and reconfiguring my little home gym to make sure that everything fits and works out. So that's what I got going on. But let's mosey along and get to this greater conversation and let's rant about some stuff.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let me talk. Let me talk.
All right, we are here for a greater conversation where we got to get some things off our chest. Well, I'm going to start. This goes out to white evangelicals.
Mighty God.
Although your skin is white, you are not the salt of the earth. Looking at this situation that we're seeing going on right now, as far as in just social injustice, white supremacy, racism, American Christianity at the moment, especially from our white brothers, has been extremely disheartening and almost like sickening, to where oftentimes they want to use certain issues and platforms to kind of feel like they're trying to defend God and defend the word of God. And they're so obsessed with trying to be, or they're so obsessed with feeling like they're oppressed or their faith is being oppressed when they're actually the oppressor, and they don't realize that they are the oppressor. So it's an often a great example is these same people who so-called believe in God and all that kind of stuff. The murderer, the thug, the vigilante, the criminal who drove from one state and came over to Kenosha and murdered 2 people. A same white evangelical Christian organization, they pretty much raised all this money to try to get this man out of jail. And then these are the same people who all scream all lives matter and all that kind of stuff. And you're literally just lying to yourself and lying to your people. You're not a good example. You're not a representation of Christ. You're neither of those things. And the thing about white Christianity, but also just, I'm going to say American Christianity. American Christianity is like this toxic nationalism, toxic Christianity, to where you really don't care about God. Mm-hmm. You more so care about the flag that you worship. And my Bible talks about, as far as, not to bow or kneel or to reverence or make any idols that is greater than God. And even in spaces and times and in situations where you should be standing for righteousness, you're literally standing for your flag or for your country, when the Bible specifically talks about kingdom and stuff like that. But you're always so caught up in the United States of America and you worship your leader, Donald Trump. It is completely sickening. It's disheartening. And especially you want to stand on this mountain, this hill that Terry Crews is on.
The Terry Crews hill.
The Terry Crews hill about like gay rights and abortion. And even in the way about even if you feel that way, the way you do it is simply oppressing. It is not leading with love. It's not going to change anyone's life. It's not going to bring anyone to Christ. You are pretty much the worst representation of Christ. And as the scripture talks about, as far as the reason why people don't believe, it's because people like you are trash. It is sickening. It makes things so much worse. It divides the nation, where you think that, it's doing something. But it's, even when it comes to think about abortion, you're so caught up in babies and you're so caught up in what you say pro-life, when Black folks is getting killed in the streets and Latinos getting killed in the streets and people in general are getting killed in the streets, and you're making a justification why they should have died. Or you say, oh, they are a criminal, so they deserve to die, when the whole essence and the reason for Christianity is grace and mercy and forgiveness, where the person that got murdered in the street, they didn't get the opportunity to have grace, forgiveness, or they may even had grace or forgiveness or mercy, but you're sitting there justifying the reason why they should have died or why they should be dying. You are terrible. I dislike you. I wish you can go to a place that's not heaven, because you don't deserve to go there. I know that's not Christ-like, but y'all got me mad and I dislike you. And Josh, pray for me, because they really work my nerves.
No, I got you, bro. And I'm not, I would, what did I say to Marcus? I ain't praying for you. But no, bro, I know, I get it. They can definitely piss you off. And I think you said everything need to be said concerning them.
Okay.
I will keep my greater conversation short.
Okay.
And it's really kind of petty. But it goes to all of you. Whew, mighty God. You,
Okay.
Jasmine, I ain't got time for no man Robinson on Facebook. Girl, who are you?
Ooh.
If you don't get this
Oh.
awkward middle name stuff off of your Facebook, you ain't 17. Timmy Beats in the Trap Johnson. I don't know who you are. I am sick of it. I am tired of it. There is a social media protocol, and don't you come adding me. I get these stupid friend requests when y'all in high school, and you know these folks, Derek, I bees in the trap Johnson. If you bees in the trap, you're going to remain outside of my friendship circle because I don't want to know you. I don't want to be connected. It is stupid. It is silly, and I have a right to decide the ways in which my timeline is created. Mark Zuckerberg, or what little Boosie call him? Mark Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg already got these crazy algorithms that's popping up and showing stuff that I don't want to see. Now I got to sit here and kind of decode this 40,000 syllable middle name that you done made up just because you don't either want to be identified or you think it's cool. You probably still got a ringback tone on your phone.
Child.
You probably still got chinging on your ringtone or something. I don't know. I don't know who you are or where you came from and why you want to be my friend, but go back to the same place Brian told the evangelicals to go.
To
you
hell.
Go back there. You go back and you leave my social media alone and change that. And your name is Karen Johnson. Your name is Billy. No, stop. Do you understand me? Stop. It's petty, but it is my right to do so, and I will deny you every time. So get you a real name,
please.
Provide the name that's on your resume, considering you have a resume.
Ooh,
provide me the name that's on your resume. Provide me the name that is on your birth certificate, even if it's crazy. Even if your name is Aquafina, even if your name is Tadarius, whatever it is. You know, Black, but we can get creative.
Got all the names. The Brickenshaw.
Right. What? LaDasha, LA dash, right? Whatever, but for real, whatever your name is, I'd rather me deal with the complexities of your name than for me to try to decode the Cam Newton hieroglyphics of this middle moniker and a moniker, not Monica, that you are trying to force upon us. Like, get it together. Do better. I'm tired of it. It's petty, but I'm tired. Let me tell you, all of America is tired of it. We don't want to see it.
We don't want it
and no more. With that being said, I think that wraps up another episode of the Jigsaw Podcast. Thank y'all for hanging in there with us this week. We know it's a long one, but you know, I think so many times we don't have real candid, like real conversations about sex outside of maybe exchanging stories and things like that. I think some of the things that we talked about were necessary,
right?
Specifically from black men, right? Because I think here's another thing: the expectation from us is to just be wild and raunchy and debaucherous, and like we can have an intelligent conversation about sex. It just has to be wild, and I think there's among brothers and in safe spaces there may be a time for that. But
yes, sir.
There's also a place where we can just really have really intelligent conversations. So thanks, bro, for fostering that. And,
no problem.
Thank y'all for hanging in there and listening to it.
Definitely. So again, thank you all listeners for joining the discussion, the conversation. And if you want to, talk about, you have something you want to add, some stories you want to add about sex from your point of view, please feel free to email us at thejigsawpodcast@gmail.com. Again, send your questions, your letters, your stories, all that kind of stuff. We will, if you wanted to read your story and talk about your story, or your question, we will make sure we, protect the names of the innocent and the guilty. So please, the jigsawpodcast@gmail.com. Please send your stuff to us. Social media, please, if you can, follow us on the Jigsaw Podcast on Instagram. You can follow me at I am Brian Hare and Joshua at I am Joshua Rogers. I am Josh Rogers.
I am Josh Rogers. That's it.
Okay.
That's me.
I am Josh Rogers. And again, as always, thank you very much for listening to us. I know, it takes your time to do it. We definitely appreciate you. Please, if you can, go on there, like, subscribe, share. If you like what you're listening to, make sure you go on the IG page, tag as many people as you can, and leave a comment if you can. And Joshua, before we go, can you tell the people what they need to do?
I absolutely can. You do all that you can while you can, because this world is ghetto. But no matter how ghetto it is, you guess what?
What?
Don't you ever get caught with your work undone.
Ooh, shy.
That is a wrap. See y'all next week. Love y'all.
All right, love you.